Have you ever felt weighed down by the chaos in your mind? Like there's a storm of thoughts, worries and emotions constantly swirling, leaving you restless and drained. It's a feeling many of us know all too well, a sense of being trapped by the mental clutter that builds up over time, fears about the future, regrets from the past, anger that simmers beneath the surface, and doubts that cloud every decision. Life throws challenges at us daily, and without even realizing it, we accumulate layers of negative thoughts and emotions that clutter our inner world. What if you could find a way to clear that noise, to free yourself from the constant barrage of negativity and finally experience a calm, focused mind? This isn't about chasing happiness or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about something deeper, a clarity and peace that come from learning how to control your inner world, no matter what's happening around you. We often try to fix external problems first. When life feels overwhelming, we seek distractions or quick fixes. We turn to entertainment, social media, food, or even retail therapy, hoping that these will quiet our minds. But that relief is temporary. The moment the distractions fade, the mental noise returns, sometimes louder than before. Deep down, we know that real change must come from within, but where do we start? In a world where everything is moving faster, where we're constantly bombarded with information, responsibilities and stress, it's easy to lose control of our thoughts and emotions. You might feel like you're always reacting to bad news, reacting to someone else's anger, reacting to your own failures. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. There's an ancient practice that has helped countless individuals across centuries find balance, even in the most turbulent times. It doesn't require special tools, expensive retreats, or complicated techniques. It's a mindset, a way of looking at life that allows you to let go of what's weighing you down and move forward with a clear and focused mind. The truth is, so much of the stress, anxiety, and negativity we carry comes from focusing on things outside of our control. Whether it's the opinions of others, the mistakes we've made, or the unpredictable nature of life, we often let these external factors rule our inner world. This leads to a spiral of negative thinking, where every small problem becomes magnified and every setback feels like a failure. But what if there were a way to break free from this cycle? A way to regain control over your mind, to detoxify the negative thoughts and emotions that have taken root over the years. This path is not about perfection, nor is it about suppressing your feelings. It's about understanding them, accepting what you cannot control, and learning how to focus your energy on what truly matters. Think of all the times you felt consumed by anger, resentment, or frustration. How often have those feelings actually helped you move forward? Chances are they've only left you more exhausted, more tangled in the web of negativity. Holding on to these toxic emotions only poisons your mind, clouding your judgment and pulling you further from the peace you deserve. But there is hope, and it lies in the wisdom of those who have walked this path before us. There is a way to not only manage these emotions, but to transform them into fuel for a clearer, more purposeful life. It starts with shifting your focus from the things that drain you to the things that strengthen you. It's a process of unlearning the habits that keep you stuck in negativity and relearning how to respond with calm and clarity. This journey toward mental detoxification is not about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally intelligent. It's about recognizing when a thought or emotion is pulling you into negativity and knowing how to redirect it before it takes over your mind. It's about letting go of the desire to control everything and instead mastering your reaction to whatever life throws your way. You've likely heard the phrase, "Focus on what you can control." But how often do we truly live by this? We spend so much time worrying about things outside our influence, what others think of us, what might happen tomorrow, or mistakes we made yesterday. And while it's natural to feel concerned about these things, constantly dwelling on them only adds to the mental clutter. The key to clearing this clutter is to adopt a mindset of detachment, not from life, but from the need to control every outcome. This doesn't mean giving up or becoming indifferent. It means focusing your energy on what you can do right now, on the things that truly matter. When you do this, you free up mental space that was once consumed by worry, doubt, and fear. Letting go is not easy. It requires practice, patience, and a shift in perspective. But once you start to let go of the toxic emotions, resentment, anger, fear, you begin to notice something remarkable. You find clarity. You find peace. You find the ability to move forward without being dragged down by the weight of your thoughts. Life will always have its challenges. There will always be moments of frustration, fear, and uncertainty. But by adopting the right mindset, by learning how to clear the negativity from your mind, you equip yourself to face these challenges with resilience and strength. You create space for calm, focus, and true mental clarity. At the heart of this transformation is a philosophy that has stood the test of time. It's not about denying emotions or pretending that life isn't hard. It's about accepting the reality of life's difficulties while knowing that your mind doesn't have to be a slave to them. You have the power to choose how you respond, to choose what occupies your thoughts, and to detoxify your mind from the negative patterns that have been holding you back. This isn't a quick fix, and it's not a magic solution. It's a practice, a daily commitment to mental clarity and emotional freedom. It's about building habits that allow you to clear away the mental clutter and focus on what's truly important. And while the road may not always be easy, it is deeply rewarding. By embracing this path, you'll discover a sense of peace and purpose that you may not have thought possible. You'll learn to let go of the things that don't serve you, and in doing so, you'll make room for the things that truly matter. It's time to clear the negativity, to detoxify your mind, and to create the mental space you need to live a life of clarity, focus, and peace. This is a journey worth taking, not just for your mental health, but for your overall well-being. Because when your mind is clear, when the weight of negativity is lifted, you can move through life with a sense of purpose and calm that allows you to truly live, not just survive. And that is where the real power lies. Now that we've opened the door to understanding the need for mental clarity, it's time to dive deeper into how we can start clearing the negative thoughts that weigh us down. There's a weight that settles in the mind when negativity takes over. It's not just stress, it's the frustration of knowing you're stuck in patterns that you wish you could break. You feel the pressure building, and with every negative thought, it becomes harder to see a way out. But what if there was a way, a practice that can help you lift that burden? A method that, instead of ignoring or suppressing these thoughts, teaches you how to confront and clear them. Through Stoic philosophy, you can learn to transform the way you think, giving yourself the mental freedom you've been seeking. Negative thoughts, though common, do not have to define your experience. Stoicism teaches us that thoughts are just that, thoughts. They do not hold power over you unless you allow them to. One of the most powerful insights from Stoicism is that we are not our thoughts. Our minds are capable of generating countless ideas and scenarios, both positive and negative, but they are not us. The first step in clearing negativity is to recognize this. Your mind may present negative thoughts, but you do not have to accept them as truth. The thoughts that arise are like clouds passing in the sky. They come and go, but they don't define the sky itself. This awareness allows you to take a step back, to observe your thoughts without being consumed by them. You might be tempted to argue with your negative thoughts or suppress them, but Stoicism suggests a different approach, acknowledging their presence without judgment. Let them be, but don't let them control you. When you begin to see your thoughts as separate from who you are, you open up the possibility of letting go. The grip they have on you starts to loosen, and with time, you'll find that these thoughts pass more easily. Another vital lesson from Stoic philosophy is the idea of focusing only on what you can control. So much of our mental clutter comes from worrying about things that are entirely beyond our influence. Whether it's the outcome of a situation, the actions of others, or even the mistakes of the past, we often give these things more power than they deserve. The Stoics remind us to focus solely on what is within our control, our own actions, reactions, and mindset. By doing this, we clear a significant amount of mental space previously occupied by useless worries. When faced with negativity, ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, then let it go. If it's something you can influence, then take action. But ruminating over things beyond your control will only drain you of energy and peace. The more you practice this mindset, the more you'll notice a lightness in your mind. You begin to see how much mental energy is wasted on things that don't matter, and in letting go, you regain that energy for things that do. Clearing negative thoughts also involves recognizing the patterns of thinking that pull you into a downward spiral. Many of us have deeply ingrained habits of thinking that lead us into self-doubt, fear, or anger. Stoicism teaches that these patterns are not permanent. You are not stuck in a loop of negativity, and you have the power to change the way you think. It's not an overnight process, but with time and practice, you can begin to rewire your thoughts, shifting away from negativity and toward clarity and peace. One way to break these negative patterns is through the practice of mindfulness. In Stoicism, mindfulness is about being fully present, aware of your thoughts and emotions without being swept away by them. This presence helps you catch negative thoughts as they arise, giving you the opportunity to question them before they take root. Instead of allowing negativity to spiral out of control, mindfulness lets you pause and choose a different response. It's a powerful tool for clearing the mind, as it stops negativity from growing beyond its initial spark. Negative thoughts often thrive in isolation. When we keep our fears, anxieties, and doubts to ourselves, they grow stronger. Stoic philosophy encourages us to engage in self-reflection, but also to share our struggles with trusted others. By speaking about our negative thoughts, we bring them into the light, where they lose some of their power. There's a vulnerability in sharing, but there's also great strength in it. When you express your thoughts, you invite others to offer perspective, which can help you see things more clearly. It's a reminder that you're not alone in your struggles, and sometimes the simple act of sharing can begin to dissolve the negativity. Another cornerstone of Stoicism is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to negative thinking because it shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right. The Stoics remind us that, even in the most challenging circumstances, there is always something to be grateful for. By making a habit of acknowledging the good in your life, you train your mind to look for positive rather than negative. This doesn't mean ignoring hardships. It means recognizing that even within the struggle, there is still good to be found. And in doing so, you weaken the hold that negativity has over your mind. There's also great wisdom in the Stoic practice of accepting what is. So much of our mental distress comes from resisting reality, wishing things were different, replaying scenarios in our minds where we made different choices, or hoping that the future will align perfectly with our desires. This resistance only creates more suffering. The Stoics teach that acceptance is not about giving up, but about finding peace in what is. By accepting the present moment, with all its imperfections, you release the tension that comes from wishing things were different. In this release, you find mental clarity. Anger and resentment are two emotions that often cloud our minds, making it difficult to think clearly. Stoicism offers a path to releasing these toxic emotions by teaching us to let go of the need for revenge or retribution. The Stoics believed that holding on to anger only hurts the one who carries it. By learning to forgive, not for the sake of others, but for your own peace, you clear your mind of the bitterness that weighs you down. This doesn't mean condoning bad behavior, but rather freeing yourself from the poison of resentment. Life will always throw challenges our way, and we cannot control everything that happens to us. But what we can control is how we respond. This is one of the core principles of Stoicism. We may not have power over external events, but we always have power over our internal reactions. When you learn to master your reactions, you gain the ability to clear your mind of unnecessary suffering. This is not about suppressing emotions, but about choosing how to engage with them. By responding rather than reacting, you create space for clarity rather than chaos. Another way to clear negative thoughts is to practice detachment. Detachment in Stoicism is not about indifference, it's about freedom. It means not attaching your sense of worth or happiness to external things, which are often beyond your control. Whether it's the opinion of others, the outcome of a project, or even personal success, when you detach from these things, you free yourself from the mental anguish that comes with clinging to them. Detachment gives you the mental clarity to see things as they are, without being clouded by emotional attachment. The Stoics also teach that adversity is a natural part of life and should not be feared. Instead of seeing challenges as negative, Stoicism encourages us to view them as opportunities for growth. Every obstacle is a chance to strengthen your mind and character. When you adopt this perspective, negativity loses its grip. You begin to see difficult situations not as problems, but as lessons. This mindset shift allows you to clear the negative thoughts that often accompany hardship, replacing them with a sense of purpose and resilience. One of the most powerful tools for mental clarity in Stoicism is the practice of silence and reflection. In our busy world, we often forget the importance of stillness. Taking time each day to sit in quiet reflection allows you to process your thoughts and emotions without the distractions of everyday life. This time of silence gives your mind the space it needs to detoxify, clearing away the clutter of negativity and allowing you to see things more clearly. It's in this quiet that you can reconnect with your inner self, gaining the clarity needed to navigate life's challenges. In this process of clearing negative thoughts, it's essential to be patient with yourself. Change doesn't happen overnight, and it's natural for old patterns of thinking to resurface. The Stoics teach that progress is gradual, and every step forward, no matter how small, is valuable. By practicing patience and self-compassion, you create a supportive environment for your mind to clear itself of negativity. Remember, the goal is not perfection, but progress. There's a great deal of freedom in realizing that you don't have to hold on to every thought or emotion that enters your mind. Just because a thought arises doesn't mean it deserves your attention or energy. The Stoics encourage us to be discerning about where we direct our focus. Not every thought is worthy of your time. By practicing this discernment, you can start to filter out the negative thoughts that don't serve you, making room for clarity and peace. The more you practice these Stoic principles, the more you'll notice a shift in your mental landscape. Over time, the negativity that once dominated your thoughts will begin to fade, replaced by a sense of calm and focus. It's not that challenges or negative thoughts will disappear altogether, but you'll be better equipped to handle them. You'll have the tools to clear them before they take root, allowing you to maintain a sense of peace even in the midst of difficulty. As you continue to apply these Stoic teachings, you'll discover that mental clarity is not just a goal, it's a way of life. It's a practice that requires ongoing commitment, but the rewards are immense. With a clear mind, you're able to approach life's challenges with confidence, make decisions with purpose, and experience a deeper sense of peace. As the mind begins to clear, something deeper becomes more noticeable: the emotions that have been lingering beneath the surface. Negative thoughts may start to fade, but toxic emotions like anger, resentment, and bitterness often remain, quietly influencing every decision and perspective. These emotions can be just as harmful as the thoughts that cloud your mind, and if left unchecked, they create mental tension that blocks true clarity. So why do the Stoics believe it's essential to let go of these toxic emotions to achieve a clear and focused mind? Let's explore the profound reasons behind this philosophy and how it can transform your mental landscape. Toxic emotions are like a heavy weight you carry with you everywhere you go. You may not always notice their presence, but they are there, affecting how you interact with the world and yourself. Stoicism teaches that these emotions do more than cause temporary distress. They distort your perception and cloud your judgment. Anger, for example, can lead to impulsive actions, causing you to react to situations without clarity or thought. The Stoics viewed anger as a destructive force that not only hurts others, but eats away at the one who holds on to it. Letting go of toxic emotions is not about suppressing or ignoring them. It's about understanding their root cause and releasing the grip they have on your mind. The Stoics believed that toxic emotions often arise from unrealistic expectations or desires that we have about the world and other people. When things don't go as we expect, or when people don't behave the way we want them to, we feel frustration, anger, or disappointment. By adjusting our expectations and accepting the world as it is, we can begin to free ourselves from these emotions. Resentment is another toxic emotion that lingers and grows over time, often without us even realizing it. The Stoics understood that resentment harms us far more than the person we resent. It's like a poison we swallow, expecting it to hurt someone else. Letting go of resentment is key to mental clarity because it allows us to stop reliving past wrongs and focus on the present moment. The Stoics encouraged the practice of forgiveness, not because it absolves others of their wrongdoing, but because it frees us from the chains of bitterness. Toxic emotions thrive on attachment to outcomes, to people, and to the past. The Stoics emphasized the importance of detachment, not as a form of indifference, but as a way to maintain inner peace. When we become too attached to a specific outcome or cling to the past, we give toxic emotions fertile ground to grow. Detachment allows us to approach life with a calm and steady mind, accepting that we cannot control everything, and therefore it is not worth holding on to anger or frustration when things don't go as planned. Letting go of toxic emotions also means letting go of the need to be right. Many of the emotions that cloud our minds, such as pride, stem from our desire to prove that we are right and others are wrong. This desire keeps us locked in a mental battle that drains our energy and focus. The Stoics believed that it is far more valuable to maintain peace of mind than to win an argument or prove a point. When you release the need to be right, you open the door to mental clarity and emotional freedom. One of the greatest insights of Stoicism is that toxic emotions are often fueled by our judgments about external events. We label things as good or bad, right or wrong, and these judgments trigger emotional reactions. The Stoics teach that by suspending judgment and accepting things as they are, we can avoid the emotional roller coaster that comes with constantly evaluating and reacting to the world around us. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent, but rather that we stop allowing our emotions to be dictated by external circumstances. Another toxic emotion that blocks mental clarity is envy. Envy keeps us focused on what others have, constantly comparing ourselves to them and feeling inadequate. The Stoics believed that envy arises from a lack of contentment with what we have. By cultivating gratitude and recognizing the abundance in our own lives, we can begin to let go of envy and the toxic feelings it brings. Gratitude shifts our focus from lack to abundance, creating space for mental clarity and peace. Fear is a toxic emotion that paralyzes the mind. It creates endless scenarios of what could go wrong, preventing us from seeing the opportunities and solutions that are right in front of us. The Stoics understood that fear is often based on imagined outcomes, things that may never happen. By focusing on what we can control and accepting that uncertainty is a natural part of life, we can begin to release the fear that holds us back. In doing so, we clear our minds of the anxious thoughts that keep us trapped in a state of inaction. The Stoics also recognized that toxic emotions often arise from the stories we tell ourselves. We create narratives about our lives, about how things should be, and when reality doesn't match these stories, we feel disappointment, frustration, or sadness. Letting go of these stories, especially the ones that no longer serve us, is essential for clearing the mind. When we stop trying to fit life into a specific narrative and accept it as it is, we free ourselves from the emotional turmoil that comes with unmet expectations. Another powerful Stoic practice is learning to view challenges and setbacks as opportunities for growth. Toxic emotions often arise when we perceive obstacles as threats or failures. But when we shift our perspective and see them as valuable lessons, the negative emotions lose their grip on us. The Stoics believed that adversity is not something to be feared, but embraced as a teacher. This mindset not only helps clear toxic emotions, but also builds resilience, allowing us to face difficulties with a calm and clear mind. Jealousy is another toxic emotion that clouds our thinking and disturbs our peace. When we are jealous, we focus on what we lack rather than what we have. The Stoics taught that comparing ourselves to others is a futile exercise because every individual's path is unique. By letting go of jealousy, we stop measuring our worth against others and begin to appreciate our own journey. This shift in focus allows for greater mental clarity and inner peace. Holding on to toxic emotions is like carrying around a heavy burden that only grows with time. The Stoics believed that to achieve mental clarity, we must release this burden and focus on what truly matters. This means letting go of past hurts, forgiving others and ourselves, and choosing to focus on the present moment. The more we hold on to toxic emotions, the more they weigh us down, preventing us from experiencing the clarity and peace that come from living in alignment with Stoic principles. Toxic emotions can also cloud our ability to make sound decisions. When our minds are filled with anger, jealousy, or fear, we are more likely to act impulsively or irrationally. The Stoics emphasized the importance of practicing self-control and not allowing emotions to dictate our actions. By developing emotional resilience and learning to detach from toxic emotions, we can approach decision-making with a clear and rational mind. One of the most toxic emotions we hold on to is regret. Regret keeps us stuck in the past, replaying our mistakes and missed opportunities. The Stoics believed that regret is useless because it focuses on what cannot be changed. Instead of dwelling on the past, they encouraged us to learn from our mistakes and move forward with a sense of purpose. By letting go of regret, we free ourselves from the mental torment of what could have been and focus on what we can do now. Toxic emotions are also closely tied to our expectations of others. We often expect people to behave in certain ways or meet our standards, and when they don't, we feel anger or disappointment. The Stoics taught that we cannot control the actions of others, only our response to them. By adjusting our expectations and accepting that people will act according to their nature, we can release the toxic emotions that arise from unmet expectations. Letting go of toxic emotions also means letting go of the need for external validation. So much of our emotional turmoil comes from seeking approval or praise from others. The Stoics believed that true peace of mind comes from within, not from the opinions of others. By focusing on our own values and actions, rather than seeking external validation, we can free ourselves from the toxic emotions that come with trying to please others. One of the most powerful ways to release toxic emotions is through the practice of self-reflection. The Stoics believed that regularly examining our thoughts and emotions allows us to identify the sources of negativity and take steps to let them go. This practice of self-reflection helps us become more aware of our emotional triggers and enables us to respond to them with wisdom and clarity rather than impulsivity. Another aspect of letting go of toxic emotions is learning to embrace vulnerability. The Stoics understood that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength. By allowing ourselves to feel emotions without being controlled by them, we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. Vulnerability allows us to experience emotions fully without holding on to them, which in turn helps us clear our minds of toxic feelings. Letting go of toxic emotions also involves practicing self-compassion. We are often our harshest critics, holding on to guilt, shame, or self-blame for past mistakes. The Stoics taught that we must be gentle with ourselves, recognizing that we are human and that mistakes are a natural part of growth. By practicing self-compassion, we release the toxic emotions of self-criticism and allow space for healing and clarity. The Stoics also believed that the key to letting go of toxic emotions lies in cultivating inner peace. Inner peace comes from accepting what we cannot change, detaching from external outcomes, and focusing on our own actions. When we cultivate inner peace, toxic emotions lose their hold on us, and we can approach life's challenges with a calm and centered mind. Letting go of toxic emotions doesn't mean that we stop feeling. The Stoics understood that emotions are a natural part of the human experience. However, they believed that we should not be ruled by them. By practicing emotional regulation and learning to respond to emotions rather than react, we can clear the toxic emotions that cloud our minds and find a sense of clarity and peace. Ultimately, the Stoics believed that letting go of toxic emotions is essential for living a fulfilled and meaningful life. Toxic emotions keep us trapped in a cycle of negativity, preventing us from experiencing true joy and purpose. By learning to release these emotions, we free ourselves from the mental and emotional clutter that weighs us down, allowing us to live with greater clarity, focus, and peace. As we let go of the toxic emotions that cloud our minds, a new challenge emerges, removing the mental clutter that builds up over time. These are the countless distractions, worries, and anxieties that quietly pile up, making it harder to experience true inner peace. It's one thing to free yourself from emotions like anger and resentment, but another to clear the everyday noise that keeps you from finding stillness. The Stoic approach offers a powerful way to do both, teaching us how to quiet the mind and create space for clarity. This journey is not just about removing the obvious negativity, it's about uncovering the subtle layers of clutter that prevent you from reaching a state of inner calm. Mental clutter doesn't always announce itself loudly. It sneaks in through the small things, worries about the future, unresolved tasks, lingering doubts. These fragments fill your mind, leaving you overwhelmed without knowing exactly why. The Stoics recognized that a cluttered mind is a distracted mind, one that struggles to focus on what truly matters. To clear this clutter, we must first become aware of it. Awareness is the first step in recognizing how much unnecessary noise occupies our thoughts. By becoming conscious of these distractions, we can begin to address them. One of the key practices in Stoicism for removing mental clutter is the idea of focusing on the present moment. The Stoics understood that much of our mental noise comes from worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. These are things we cannot control, yet they take up so much space in our minds. By focusing on the present, we reduce the amount of mental clutter that arises from trying to solve problems that don't yet exist or reliving moments that are already gone. Mental clutter often comes from trying to juggle too many thoughts or responsibilities at once. The Stoics teach us the value of simplicity, focusing on one thing at a time. When we try to do everything, we end up accomplishing little, and the weight of unfinished tasks adds to the clutter in our minds. Simplifying your life doesn't mean doing less. It means doing what truly matters. By prioritizing your time and energy, you can reduce the overwhelming flood of thoughts and focus on what brings real value to your life. There's a mental freedom that comes with narrowing your focus to what is essential. The Stoics believed in cutting away distractions, both external and internal, to find clarity. This doesn't mean avoiding responsibilities, but learning to prioritize them. Not every thought that comes into your mind deserves attention, and not every problem is worth your energy. When you allow yourself to be selective about what you focus on, you begin to clear the mental clutter that drains your strength. Mental clutter also arises from the constant stream of information that surrounds us. In today's world, it's easy to feel bombarded by news, social media, and endless notifications. The Stoic approach to this overwhelming influx is to practice discernment, learning to filter what is necessary and what is simply noise. By reducing the amount of irrelevant information you consume, you create more space for clear and meaningful thought. The mind needs rest and silence to function at its best, and eliminating unnecessary distractions is crucial for this process. In addition to external distractions, our own thoughts can create mental clutter. The Stoics taught that it is important to question the stories we tell ourselves. These stories, about who we are, what we should be doing, or how others perceive us, often lead to unnecessary stress and anxiety. By examining these internal narratives, we can begin to untangle the web of thoughts that clutter our minds and replace them with more constructive perspectives. Another powerful way to reduce mental clutter is through the practice of journaling. The Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius, used journaling as a tool for self-reflection and mental clarity. Writing down your thoughts helps you organize them, making it easier to identify what's important and what can be let go. This process of externalizing your thoughts onto paper helps clear the mental clutter that builds up when everything is kept inside. Journaling offers a way to untangle your thoughts, allowing you to see them more clearly and make sense of the chaos. Letting go of perfectionism is another key Stoic principle that helps clear mental clutter. Perfectionism creates unrealistic expectations and a constant sense of inadequacy, filling the mind with worry and doubt. The Stoics remind us that striving for perfection is futile. Instead, we should focus on progress and effort. By releasing the need to be perfect, you remove a significant source of mental clutter and open the door to inner peace. Mental clutter often thrives in a disorganized environment. The Stoics believed in the power of order and discipline, not just in thought, but in daily life. By creating routines and maintaining a sense of structure, you reduce the chaos that contributes to mental clutter. A clear physical space often leads to a clearer mental space. Discipline in small, everyday tasks helps build a sense of control and reduces the feeling of being overwhelmed by disorganization. Another source of mental clutter comes from worrying about the opinions of others. The Stoics taught that seeking approval from others is a distraction that leads to unnecessary stress. Focusing on what others think of you takes energy away from focusing on your own values and actions. By letting go of the need for validation, you clear a significant portion of the mental clutter that arises from constant self-comparison and fear of judgment. You begin to find peace in living authentically, guided by your own principles rather than the expectations of others. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of self-control in clearing mental clutter. Emotions like anger, frustration, and impatience often create mental noise that distracts us from what's important. By practicing self-control, you develop the ability to manage your emotions rather than letting them control you. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings, but rather responding to them with intention and thoughtfulness. With self-control, you reduce the emotional clutter that disrupts your peace of mind. Mental clutter can also be reduced by embracing the concept of enough. The Stoics believed in the virtue of contentment, being satisfied with what you have rather than constantly striving for more. The pursuit of material possessions or status often leads to mental exhaustion as we chase after things that do not bring lasting fulfillment. By embracing the idea of sufficiency, you free your mind from the clutter of wanting more and focus on appreciating what is already present in your life. Another important Stoic practice is learning to accept uncertainty. Much of the mental clutter we experience comes from trying to predict or control the future. The Stoics remind us that the future is beyond our control, and worrying about it only adds unnecessary stress. By accepting uncertainty as a natural part of life, you release the need to constantly plan or anticipate every possible outcome. This acceptance creates space for peace and clarity, allowing you to focus on the present moment without being weighed down by fear of the unknown. In addition to simplifying your thoughts, the Stoics also encourage simplifying your actions. Mental clutter often arises when we overcomplicate our decisions or try to take on too much at once. The Stoics taught that effective action comes from clarity of purpose. By focusing on what truly matters and eliminating unnecessary tasks, you reduce the mental strain that comes from trying to do too much. Simplifying your actions leads to a greater sense of control and peace. The practice of meditation, another key aspect of Stoicism, is a powerful tool for clearing mental clutter. Meditation allows you to create stillness within, giving your mind the space it needs to process and release unnecessary thoughts. Through meditation, you learn to observe your thoughts without becoming attached to them, creating a sense of mental detachment that helps clear away the clutter. This stillness cultivates inner peace and allows you to approach life with a calmer, more focused mind. Mental clutter often thrives on indecision. When we struggle to make choices, our minds become filled with conflicting thoughts and doubts. The Stoics believed in taking decisive action, guided by reason and virtue. By making decisions based on clear principles, you reduce the mental clutter that comes from uncertainty and second-guessing. Taking action clears the mind of doubts and allows you to move forward with confidence and purpose. Another practice that helps remove mental clutter is setting boundaries. Mental exhaustion often comes from overcommitting ourselves or allowing others to take too much of our time and energy. The Stoics taught the importance of protecting one's inner peace by setting clear boundaries. By learning to say no to things that don't align with your values or priorities, you create space in your mind for what truly matters. Boundaries are essential for maintaining mental clarity and avoiding burnout. Stoicism also encourages the practice of detachment from outcomes. Much of the mental clutter we experience comes from our attachment to specific results or achievements. When we focus too much on the outcome, we lose sight of the present moment and fill our minds with anxiety about what might happen. The Stoics teach that we can control our efforts, but not the outcomes. By focusing on doing our best and letting go of the need for a specific result, we clear the mental clutter that arises from obsessing over the future. Mental clutter can also come from a lack of direction or purpose. When we feel lost or uncertain about our goals, our minds become filled with doubts and distractions. The Stoics believed in living with purpose, aligning our actions with our values and striving to make a positive impact on the world. By clarifying your sense of purpose, you reduce the mental noise that comes from indecision and uncertainty. Purpose provides a clear direction, guiding your thoughts and actions toward what truly matters. Another key aspect of Stoicism for removing mental clutter is practicing gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing in your life to what's present. When we dwell on what we lack, we create mental clutter in the form of dissatisfaction and longing. By cultivating gratitude, we clear away these negative thoughts and make room for a sense of contentment and peace. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to mental clutter because it shifts your mindset toward abundance rather than scarcity. Mental clutter often builds up when we resist life's challenges. The Stoics taught that resistance to difficulty only creates more suffering. By accepting life's challenges as opportunities for growth, we clear the mental clutter that comes from fighting against reality. Acceptance allows us to approach difficulties with clarity and composure, reducing the mental strain that comes from trying to avoid or control situations beyond our power. In addition to acceptance, the Stoics also emphasize the importance of resilience. Mental clutter often arises from feeling overwhelmed by challenges or setbacks. The Stoic approach is to view adversity as a chance to strengthen your mind and character. When you adopt this perspective, you clear the mental clutter that comes from fear and doubt, replacing it with a sense of purpose and resilience. This mindset helps you face difficulties with a calm and focused mind. The Stoics also remind us that mental clutter often comes from our attachment to comfort. We tend to seek ease and avoid discomfort, but this avoidance only leads to more stress in the long run. By embracing discomfort and seeing it as a natural part of life, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from constantly trying to avoid challenges. Embracing discomfort builds mental strength and helps us approach life with greater clarity and focus. Another source of mental clutter is the constant pursuit of external success. The Stoics teach that true success comes not from external achievements, but from living in alignment with our values. When we stop chasing after status or material wealth, we clear the mental clutter that comes from trying to prove ourselves to others. True fulfillment comes from within, and by focusing on what truly matters, we create space for inner peace. Mental clutter also arises from the habit of overthinking. The Stoics encourage us to simplify our thoughts by focusing on what is within our control and letting go of the rest. Overthinking creates a maze of doubts and worries that keep us stuck in indecision. By practicing simplicity in thought, we reduce the mental noise and gain a clearer perspective on life's challenges. Finally, the Stoics remind us that mental clutter often comes from a lack of inner stillness. In our busy lives, we rarely take the time to sit in silence and reconnect with ourselves. The Stoics believed that cultivating inner stillness is essential for clearing mental clutter and finding peace. By making time for quiet reflection, meditation, or simply being alone with your thoughts, you create space for clarity to emerge. Stillness allows you to reconnect with your inner self, free from the distractions of the outside world. As we cultivate stillness and remove the mental clutter that clouds our thoughts, another challenge remains: breaking free from the patterns of negative thinking that have settled into our minds. These patterns often feel automatic, replaying like a loop, influencing our behavior and emotions without us even realizing it. But there's hope. Stoicism offers a way to disrupt these cycles and replace them with thoughts that serve us, bringing clarity and peace. Breaking free from negative thinking patterns is not just about stopping harmful thoughts. It's about understanding where they come from, why they persist, and how we can transform them to live more purposeful lives. Negative thinking patterns often take root because they go unchecked. One of the first steps in breaking free is awareness, becoming conscious of the recurring negative thoughts that pop up throughout the day. The Stoics taught that self-awareness is the foundation of growth. Without it, we remain stuck in patterns that harm us. By paying attention to your thoughts and recognizing when negativity arises, you begin to take back control. This awareness is not about judging yourself for having negative thoughts, but observing them without attachment. Once you start recognizing these patterns, the next step is to question them. Negative thoughts often seem true because they've been repeated so often. However, Stoicism teaches that just because a thought appears doesn't mean it's grounded in reality. For example, the thought, "I always fail," might feel true in the moment, but it is likely an exaggeration. By questioning the validity of negative thoughts, you can begin to break their hold over your mind. Stoicism encourages a rational approach, asking yourself whether the thought is based on facts or emotions. Another way to break free from negative thinking is to shift your focus from problems to solutions. Negative thoughts tend to dwell on what's wrong, but Stoicism teaches that it's more productive to focus on what can be done. Instead of getting stuck in the thought, "I'm not good enough," ask yourself, "What can I do to improve?" By redirecting your thoughts toward action, you disrupt the cycle of negativity and start moving toward a more empowered mindset. It's a shift from passivity to agency, and with it comes a sense of control. Negative thinking patterns also thrive on the belief that things should always go according to plan. The Stoics, however, believed that life is unpredictable and often out of our control. Clinging to the idea that everything should be perfect leads to disappointment and frustration. To break this pattern, Stoicism teaches the practice of accepting what is. Instead of resisting reality, embrace it as it unfolds. This doesn't mean giving up on improvement or change. It means releasing the need for everything to go your way. By accepting life's uncertainties, you free yourself from the negative thinking that arises when things don't go as expected. Self-talk is another powerful element in breaking free from negativity. The way you speak to yourself shapes your thoughts and ultimately your reality. Stoicism encourages the practice of compassionate self-talk. Instead of beating yourself up for mistakes, speak to yourself as you would to a friend, with understanding and kindness. This shift in self-dialogue helps dismantle the harsh inner critic that fuels negative thinking. The more you practice speaking to yourself with compassion, the more you reinforce positive, constructive thought patterns. Breaking free from negative thinking also requires letting go of perfectionism. Perfectionism feeds the idea that anything less than perfect is failure, which leads to a constant stream of self-criticism. The Stoics remind us that perfection is an illusion, and striving for it only traps us in a cycle of dissatisfaction. By accepting that mistakes are part of growth, you free yourself from the negative thinking that comes with the pursuit of flawlessness. Instead, focus on progress. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. Another way to disrupt negative thinking is to practice gratitude. Negative patterns often arise from focusing on what's missing, what's wrong, or what's lacking in your life. Gratitude shifts your perspective toward abundance, reminding you of what's already good. The Stoics believed that practicing gratitude for even the smallest things, health, breath, the opportunity to learn, can change the way you view the world. When you focus on gratitude, negative thoughts lose their power because they are no longer the dominant force in your mind. A key Stoic principle that helps in breaking negative thought patterns is the idea of impermanence. Negative thoughts often feel like they will last forever, but the Stoics teach that everything in life, including our thoughts and emotions, is temporary. By reminding yourself that your negative thinking is not permanent, you create distance from it. This awareness helps you stop identifying with negative thoughts and see them for what they are, temporary mental events that will pass. Stoicism also teaches us to focus on what we can control. Negative thinking patterns often arise from dwelling on things beyond our influence, whether it's the actions of others, past mistakes, or fears about the future. By redirecting your attention to what is within your control, your actions, decisions, and mindset, you can break free from the helplessness that fuels negative thinking. This shift from external to internal focus empowers you to take action and regain control of your mental landscape. Negative thinking patterns are often fueled by fear, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. The Stoics believed that fear is a product of focusing on what might happen rather than what is happening. To break free from fear-based thinking, Stoicism teaches us to stay grounded in the present moment. By focusing on the here and now, you reduce the mental space for fear to grow. The future is uncertain, and by accepting that uncertainty, you release the fear that feeds negative thoughts. One powerful Stoic practice for breaking free from negative thinking is the daily reflection. At the end of each day, reflect on your thoughts, actions, and emotions. What patterns of negativity did you notice? How did you respond to them? This reflection helps you become more aware of your thought patterns and provides an opportunity to adjust your mindset for the following day. It's a way to consistently check in with yourself and make small, intentional changes that lead to lasting transformation. Negative thinking can also stem from comparing yourself to others. The Stoics believed that comparison is a thief of joy and a source of unnecessary suffering. By focusing on your own path and progress rather than comparing yourself to others, you break the cycle of envy and self-doubt. Everyone's journey is unique, and by accepting this, you free yourself from the negative thoughts that arise from comparison. Negative thinking patterns can become so ingrained that they feel automatic. Stoicism teaches that we can reprogram our minds through consistent practice. Each time a negative thought arises, challenge it, question it, and replace it with a more constructive thought. Over time, these small acts of resistance add up, and the negative thinking patterns lose their strength. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to disrupt the cycle of negativity and replace it with clarity and purpose. Breaking free from negative thinking also requires patience. Stoicism teaches that progress is slow and gradual. You may not see immediate results, but each small step you take toward shifting your mindset is a victory. Negative thinking patterns didn't form overnight, and they won't disappear overnight either. But with consistent effort, you will begin to notice a change. The key is to stay committed to the practice, even when it feels difficult. Another helpful practice is embracing discomfort. Negative thinking often arises as a way to avoid uncomfortable emotions or situations. The Stoics believed that discomfort is a natural part of life and that avoiding it only leads to more suffering. By facing discomfort head-on and accepting it as part of your growth, you disrupt the negative thoughts that arise from fear of discomfort. This builds resilience and helps you break free from the patterns that keep you stuck. Stoicism also teaches that breaking free from negative thinking requires a sense of purpose. When you have a clear sense of what you're working toward, whether it's personal growth, helping others, or living according to your values, negative thoughts become less powerful. purpose provides direction and focus, allowing you to stay grounded even when negative thoughts try to pull you off course. By aligning your actions with your purpose, you create a stronger mental foundation that supports positive thinking. Negative thinking patterns are often reinforced by dwelling on past mistakes. The Stoics believed that the past is unchangeable, and dwelling on it only brings unnecessary pain. To break free from this pattern, focus on what you can learn from the past and apply those lessons to the present. By shifting your attention from regret to growth, you transform negative thinking into an opportunity for self-improvement. Negative thinking can also arise from over-identifying with your emotions. The Stoics taught that emotions are temporary and do not define who we are. When you experience negative emotions, remind yourself that they are not a permanent part of your identity. By creating distance between yourself and your emotions, you reduce the power they have over you. This perspective helps you break the cycle of negative thinking and approach life with a clearer, more objective mindset. Breaking free from negative thinking requires a commitment to self-discipline. The Stoics valued self-discipline as a way to maintain control over the mind and emotions. When you develop self-discipline, you become less reactive to negative thoughts and more intentional in your responses. This discipline allows you to choose how you respond to negative thinking rather than being swept away by it. The Stoics also taught that breaking free from negative thinking involves cultivating inner peace. Inner peace comes from accepting life's challenges, staying grounded in the present moment, and focusing on what truly matters. When you cultivate inner peace, negative thoughts lose their power because they are no longer the dominant force in your mind. Inner peace creates a sense of stability and clarity that allows you to navigate life with calmness and purpose. Negative thinking patterns are often fueled by the desire for control. The Stoics remind us that control is an illusion. There is very little in life that we can truly control. By letting go of the need to control everything, you free yourself from the anxiety and frustration that come with trying to manage the uncontrollable. This shift in mindset allows you to focus on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and reactions, and break free from the negative thinking that arises from a desire for control. Breaking free from negative thinking also requires surrounding yourself with supportive influences. The people you spend time with can either reinforce negative thinking patterns or help you rise above them. The Stoics believed in seeking out relationships that foster growth and positivity. By surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to think differently, you create an environment that supports your efforts to break free from negativity. Another Stoic practice that helps in breaking negative thinking patterns is practicing humility. Negative thoughts often arise from ego, the desire to be seen as perfect, successful, or superior. By practicing humility, you let go of the need for external validation and focus on your own growth and values. Humility helps you release the negative thoughts that come from trying to live up to unrealistic expectations and instead allows you to embrace who you truly are. Breaking free from negative thinking also requires a commitment to lifelong learning. The Stoics believed that wisdom comes from continuous growth and self-improvement. By staying open to new ideas and perspectives, you challenge the fixed mindset that often fuels negative thoughts. Lifelong learning helps you see beyond your current limitations and opens the door to new possibilities. Negative thinking patterns often thrive on isolation. The more you isolate yourself, the more your mind becomes a breeding ground for negative thoughts. The Stoics valued community and connection, understanding that we are social beings who thrive in supportive environments. By reaching out to others, sharing your experiences, and seeking support, you disrupt the isolation that feeds negative thinking and create a sense of connection that fosters positivity. One of the most powerful ways to break free from negative thinking is through the practice of acceptance. The Stoics teach that much of our suffering comes from resisting what is. By accepting life as it is, without wishing for it to be different, you break the cycle of negative thinking that arises from unmet expectations. Acceptance creates a sense of peace and clarity, allowing you to move forward without being weighed down by negativity. Breaking free from negative thinking also requires a willingness to embrace change. Negative thought patterns often arise from a fear of change or uncertainty. The Stoics remind us that change is inevitable, and resisting it only leads to more suffering. By embracing change as a natural part of life, you disrupt the negative thinking that comes from trying to hold on to the past or control the future. This acceptance of change allows you to approach life with an open mind and a sense of possibility. As we break free from the grip of negative thinking, a new opportunity presents itself, the chance to cleanse the mind on a deeper level through mindfulness. Stoicism has long taught that true mental clarity requires presence, a focused awareness on the here and now. Without this, we are easily swept away by distractions, worries, and emotional turmoil. Practicing mindfulness becomes not just a tool, but a necessity for clearing the mental clutter that prevents us from experiencing peace. It's in this moment, in this awareness, where true mental detoxification begins. Mindfulness in Stoicism is not about escaping the present, but fully embracing it. Our minds often jump between the past and the future, replaying old memories or worrying about what's to come. But this constant mental wandering keeps us trapped in cycles of stress and anxiety. By grounding ourselves in the present, we cut off the power that these thoughts have over us. We give ourselves the space to breathe, to see things clearly, and to let go of what doesn't serve us. Practicing mindfulness means training the mind to focus on what is happening right now. It is a conscious effort to bring your thoughts back to the present whenever they drift away. This simple practice, repeated consistently, begins to clear the layers of mental clutter that accumulate over time. The more often you do it, the easier it becomes to stay present. You start to notice how much of your mental energy is wasted on things that are beyond your control or no longer relevant to the moment. One of the reasons mindfulness is so effective in mental detoxification is that it interrupts the automatic reactions that often dominate our thoughts. Without mindfulness, we react impulsively to situations, allowing emotions like anger, frustration, or fear to take over. Stoicism teaches that mindfulness creates a gap between the stimulus and the response, giving you a moment to choose how to react. This moment of awareness allows you to avoid falling into negative patterns and instead respond with clarity and intention. The practice of mindfulness in Stoicism also teaches you to observe your thoughts without becoming attached to them. Our minds are constantly generating thoughts, but not all of them are useful or true. By practicing mindfulness, you learn to observe these thoughts as they arise, without immediately reacting or believing them. This detachment from your thoughts is crucial for mental detoxification, as it allows you to let go of the ones that do not serve you. Mindfulness also helps you become more aware of your emotional triggers. Often, we react to situations without fully understanding why. By practicing mindfulness, you begin to notice patterns in your emotions and reactions. You start to see the thoughts or situations that trigger certain emotions, giving you the insight needed to address them. This awareness helps you detoxify your mind from emotional responses that are automatic and unhelpful, replacing them with more thoughtful, measured reactions. One of the greatest benefits of mindfulness is that it reduces stress. Stress often arises when we are mentally stuck in the future, worrying about things that haven't happened yet. By practicing mindfulness, you bring yourself back to the present, where stress cannot thrive. In the present moment, you are able to see things as they are, without the added layer of fear or anticipation. This shift in focus helps detoxify the mind from the stress that builds up when we're constantly living in a state of what if. Another aspect of mindfulness that contributes to mental detoxification is the practice of non-judgment. When we judge ourselves or others, we create a mental environment that is harsh and critical. These judgments clutter our minds with unnecessary negativity. Mindfulness teaches us to observe without judgment, to see things as they are, without labeling them as good or bad. This non-judgmental awareness creates a sense of mental freedom, allowing us to release the negative thoughts and emotions that arise from constant criticism. Mindfulness also cultivates a sense of gratitude, which is a powerful tool for mental detoxification. When we are fully present, we are more aware of the good in our lives. We notice the small moments of joy, the things we often overlook when our minds are elsewhere. This awareness of the present brings a natural sense of gratitude, which shifts the focus from what is lacking to what is abundant. Gratitude clears away the mental clutter of dissatisfaction and creates space for contentment and peace. Another reason mindfulness is key to mental detoxification is that it helps you manage uncertainty. Life is full of unpredictable events, and our minds often race ahead, trying to prepare for every possible outcome. This constant anticipation creates mental clutter as we try to plan for things we cannot control. Mindfulness teaches us to stay grounded in the present, accepting uncertainty without trying to force solutions or predict the future. By staying present, we reduce the anxiety that comes from trying to control what is beyond our reach. Mindfulness also strengthens self-awareness. Often we go through life on autopilot, repeating the same thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without questioning them. Mindfulness brings awareness to these patterns, giving you the opportunity to break free from those that no longer serve you. This heightened self-awareness allows you to make more intentional choices, rather than being driven by unconscious habits. It's a way of clearing the mental fog that keeps you stuck in old ways of thinking and acting. In addition to enhancing self-awareness, mindfulness helps you develop patience. In a world that demands instant gratification, our minds are constantly racing to the next thing. This hurried mindset creates mental exhaustion and frustration when things don't happen as quickly as we'd like. Mindfulness teaches you to slow down, to be patient with the process, and to trust that everything unfolds in its own time. This patience clears the mental clutter of impatience and allows you to approach life with a calm, steady mind. Another powerful element of mindfulness is that it fosters emotional resilience. When we are present, we are better able to handle life's challenges without being overwhelmed by them. Mindfulness gives you the space to acknowledge your emotions without being consumed by them. This emotional resilience helps you navigate difficult situations with clarity and calm, rather than being swept away by fear or frustration. By building emotional resilience, you detoxify your mind from the emotional chaos that often accompanies stress and uncertainty. Mindfulness also teaches acceptance, which is a key component of mental detoxification. So much of the mental clutter we experience comes from resisting reality, wishing things were different, fighting against what is. This resistance creates mental tension and exhausts our minds. Mindfulness teaches us to accept the present moment as it is, without trying to change or escape it. This acceptance doesn't mean giving up on improvement. It means letting go of the struggle to control everything. By practicing acceptance, you free your mind from the clutter of resistance and create space for peace. Mindfulness also enhances your ability to focus. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. pulling your attention in multiple directions at once. This fragmented attention creates mental clutter, making it difficult to concentrate on what truly matters. Mindfulness trains your mind to focus on one thing at a time, improving your ability to stay present with whatever task or situation is in front of you. This focused attention helps detoxify the mind by clearing away the distractions that scatter your energy. Another key aspect of mindfulness is that it promotes self-compassion. We often fill our minds with harsh self-criticism, judging ourselves for every mistake or shortcoming. This self-judgment creates a toxic mental environment where negative thoughts about ourselves take root. Mindfulness teaches us to approach ourselves with kindness and understanding. By practicing self-compassion, you clear away the mental clutter of self-judgment and replace it with thoughts of acceptance and care. Mindfulness also helps you develop a deeper connection to your body. Often, we live in our heads, disconnected from the sensations and signals our bodies are sending us. This disconnect can lead to physical tension and stress as we ignore what our bodies need. Mindfulness brings awareness to your physical experience, helping you notice when you're tense, tired, or in need of rest. By reconnecting with your body, you detoxify your mind from the stress that comes from pushing yourself too hard without listening to your body's signals. Another way mindfulness contributes to mental detoxification is by helping you stay grounded during difficult emotions. When emotions like anger, sadness, or anxiety arise, it's easy to get swept away by them. Mindfulness teaches you to observe these emotions without being overwhelmed by them. You learn to acknowledge the emotion, feel it fully, and then let it pass. This mindful approach prevents emotions from building up and creating mental clutter, allowing you to experience them without being consumed by them. Mindfulness also encourages presence in relationships. Often, our minds are elsewhere when we're with others, thinking about work, worrying about the future, or replaying past conversations. This mental distraction creates a disconnect in our relationships, as we're not fully present with the people in front of us. Mindfulness helps you stay focused on the present moment, allowing you to be fully engaged in your interactions with others. This presence strengthens your connections and clears away the mental clutter of distractions that keep you from being fully engaged. Another reason mindfulness is essential for mental detoxification is that it fosters a sense of inner calm. When we're constantly rushing, worrying, or reacting, our minds become chaotic and overwhelmed. Mindfulness helps you slow down and find stillness within. This inner calm creates a sense of stability, even in the midst of external chaos. By cultivating this calm, you detoxify your mind from the constant rush and anxiety that often dominate your thoughts. Mindfulness also helps you become more intentional with your time and energy. When we're not mindful, we often spend our time on things that don't truly matter, leaving us feeling drained and unfulfilled. Mindfulness brings awareness to how you're spending your time and where you're directing your energy. This awareness helps you make more intentional choices, focusing on what brings you joy and fulfillment. By aligning your time and energy with your values, you clear away the mental clutter that comes from feeling scattered or unproductive. Another key benefit of mindfulness is that it enhances creativity. When your mind is cluttered with distractions, worries, and negative thoughts, it's difficult to tap into your creative potential. Mindfulness clears away this mental clutter, allowing your creative ideas to flow more freely. By staying present and focused, you create the mental space needed for creativity to thrive. This clarity of mind helps you approach challenges with a fresh perspective, finding new solutions and ideas that may have been hidden beneath the clutter. Mindfulness also helps you develop a greater sense of self-discipline. When we're not mindful, it's easy to get caught up in distractions or fall into habits that don't serve us. Mindfulness brings awareness to your choices, helping you stay focused on what truly matters. This self-discipline helps you break free from the habits and behaviors that contribute to mental clutter, allowing you to live with greater purpose and intention. Another powerful aspect of mindfulness is that it helps you stay connected to your values. Often, we get caught up in the demands of daily life, losing sight of what truly matters to us. This disconnect creates mental tension as we feel pulled in different directions. Mindfulness helps you stay grounded in your values, bringing your actions and decisions into alignment with what's most important to you. This alignment clears away the mental clutter that comes from living out of sync with your values, creating a sense of clarity and purpose. Mindfulness also teaches you to embrace change. Change is inevitable, but it often brings anxiety and resistance. By staying present and mindful, you learn to accept change as it happens, rather than resisting it or trying to control it. This acceptance of change helps you navigate life's transitions with greater ease, clearing away the mental clutter that comes from fighting against the natural flow of life. Mindfulness also fosters a sense of curiosity and openness. When we're mindful, we approach each moment with a sense of wonder rather than judgment or expectation. This openness allows you to see things as they are, without the filter of past experiences or future concerns. This fresh perspective clears away the mental clutter of assumptions and biases, allowing you to experience life with greater clarity and awareness. Another reason mindfulness is key to mental detoxification is that it helps you develop emotional intelligence. When we're not mindful, we often react to emotions impulsively without fully understanding them. Mindfulness helps you become more aware of your emotions, allowing you to understand their root causes and respond to them in a more thoughtful way. This emotional intelligence helps you manage your emotions more effectively, reducing the mental clutter that comes from emotional overwhelm. Mindfulness also teaches you to let go of control. So much of our mental clutter comes from trying to control things that are beyond our power. By practicing mindfulness, you learn to release this need for control and accept life as it is. This letting go creates a sense of freedom, as you're no longer weighed down by the constant effort to manage everything. This freedom helps detoxify the mind from the stress and anxiety that come with trying to control the uncontrollable. Another key benefit of mindfulness is that it helps you cultivate resilience. Life is full of challenges, but mindfulness helps you face them with a clear and steady mind. By staying present and grounded, you develop the ability to navigate difficulties without being overwhelmed by them. This resilience helps you bounce back from setbacks more quickly, clearing away the mental clutter of fear and doubt that often accompany adversity. Mindfulness also helps you develop a deeper sense of self-awareness. When we're mindful, we become more attuned to our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. This self-awareness allows you to see patterns in your thinking and actions that may be contributing to mental clutter. By becoming aware of these patterns, you can begin to make changes that lead to greater clarity and peace. Finally, mindfulness teaches you to live with greater intention. When we're not mindful, we often go through life on autopilot, reacting to situations without much thought. Mindfulness brings you back to the present, helping you make conscious choices that align with your values and goals. This intentionality clears away the mental clutter of distractions and unimportant tasks, allowing you to focus on what truly matters. In this clarity, you find a deeper sense of peace and purpose. As we cultivate mindfulness and learn to live with greater intention, another challenge emerges: letting go of the heavy emotions that cling to us, like resentment and anger. These emotions, though often justified, weigh down the mind and spirit. They take up space in our thoughts, fueling bitterness and preventing us from moving forward. Stoicism offers a path to release this burden, guiding us toward a life free from the chains of anger and resentment. By applying Stoic principles, we learn how to let go, not for the benefit of others, but for our own peace of mind and emotional clarity. Resentment often arises when we feel wronged or mistreated, holding on to the belief that someone owes us something, an apology, recognition, or justice. Stoicism teaches that clinging to these expectations only harms us. The Stoics believed that resentment is like a poison we drink, hoping it will hurt someone else. By holding on to anger, we allow that person or situation to continue controlling us, even long after the event has passed. Letting go of resentment doesn't mean condoning bad behavior. It means freeing yourself from the emotional prison that resentment creates. One of the most powerful Stoic principles in overcoming resentment and anger is the understanding that we cannot control others, only ourselves. So much of our anger comes from expecting others to behave in a certain way, and when they don't, we feel betrayed or frustrated. The Stoics remind us that people act according to their nature, and we cannot change that. By accepting this truth, we release the need to control how others act, which helps dissolve the resentment that builds when our expectations aren't met. Stoicism encourages us to examine the nature of anger itself. Anger often feels righteous in the moment, as if it's the only valid response to an injustice. But the Stoics saw anger as a destructive emotion that clouds judgment and leads to impulsive actions. They understood that anger rarely serves us in the long run, often causing more harm than good. By recognizing that anger distorts our thinking and behavior, we become more motivated to let it go, knowing that it doesn't bring us closer to peace. Another key to releasing resentment is practicing empathy. Stoicism teaches that we all face our own struggles, and sometimes people act out of their own pain or ignorance. By viewing others with compassion rather than judgment, we can soften the anger that arises from their actions. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it helps us understand that people are often driven by forces beyond our control. Empathy helps us release the bitterness that comes from taking others' actions too personally. One of the most powerful Stoic practices for overcoming anger is reframing our perspective. When we are angry or resentful, we often focus on the offense itself, replaying it in our minds and magnifying its importance. The Stoics teach us to step back and ask whether this situation will matter in the grand scheme of things. By zooming out and seeing the bigger picture, we can often recognize that the source of our anger is not as significant as we first believed. This shift in perspective helps to deflate the power of anger and resentment. The Stoics also remind us of the impermanence of life. Resentment often festers when we dwell on past wrongs, refusing to let them go. But life is constantly moving forward, and we too must move with it. Holding on to anger about something that happened days, months, or years ago only traps us in the past, preventing us from fully experiencing the present. Stoicism teaches us to release our grip on past hurts, recognizing that clinging to them only prolongs our suffering. Another powerful Stoic tool in letting go of resentment is focusing on what is within our control. Resentment often stems from feeling powerless in a situation, believing that we've been treated unfairly without recourse. Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control how others behave, we always have control over how we respond. By shifting our focus to our own actions and reactions, we reclaim our power and stop giving others control over our emotions. This shift in focus helps release the grip of resentment, as we recognize that our peace of mind is in our own hands. Letting go of anger also involves recognizing its transitory nature. Anger often flares up quickly and feels all-consuming in the moment, but Stoicism reminds us that no emotion, no matter how intense, lasts forever. When we realize that anger will pass, we can approach it with greater patience and calm. Rather than reacting impulsively, we can allow the anger to rise and fall without letting it dictate our behavior. This awareness of the fleeting nature of emotions helps us break the cycle of anger before it takes over. Another aspect of Stoicism that helps in letting go of anger is the practice of detachment. Anger often arises when we are overly attached to a particular outcome or desire. We want things to go a certain way, and when they don't, we feel frustration or rage. Stoicism teaches us to detach from these outcomes, accepting that life is unpredictable and beyond our control. By letting go of rigid expectations, we reduce the likelihood of becoming angry when things don't go as planned. This detachment brings a sense of freedom and peace as we stop fighting against reality. In Stoicism, one of the most profound insights about anger and resentment is the realization that these emotions harm us more than they harm the people we are angry at. When we hold on to anger, we carry it with us, allowing it to affect our mood, relationships, and overall well-being. The Stoics teach that letting go of anger is not an act of weakness, but an act of strength. It takes far more courage and wisdom to release anger than to hold on to it, as it requires us to rise above the emotion rather than be consumed by it. The practice of forgiveness is also central to Stoic wisdom in releasing resentment. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as letting someone off the hook, but in Stoic philosophy, it is about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of holding on to anger. By forgiving, you are not excusing the behavior, but you are choosing not to let it continue to affect you. Forgiveness is a powerful tool for mental detoxification, as it allows you to move forward without carrying the weight of past wrongs. Stoicism also teaches us the value of humility in overcoming anger. Often, our anger arises from pride, believing that we deserve better or that we have been wronged in a way that wounds our ego. The Stoics remind us that we are all flawed and that expecting perfection from others is unrealistic. By practicing humility, we recognize that we too make mistakes and that others' actions are not always a personal affront. This humility helps dissolve the sense of self-righteousness that fuels anger, allowing us to let go more easily. Letting go of resentment also requires us to challenge the narratives we create around our anger. When we are angry, we often tell ourselves stories about how we've been wronged, feeding the flames of resentment. Stoicism teaches us to question these narratives and examine whether they are based on truth or emotion. Often, we find that the stories we tell ourselves are exaggerated or distorted by our feelings. By questioning these narratives, we can begin to dismantle the anger that arises from them. One of the most liberating aspects of Stoicism in dealing with anger is the understanding that we are not defined by our emotions. Anger is a natural human response, but it does not have to control us. Stoicism teaches that we can experience anger without becoming it. By creating distance between ourselves and our emotions, we gain the ability to choose how we respond. This awareness helps us let go of the identity of being an angry person and instead see anger as a temporary emotion that we can manage and release. Another Stoic practice that helps in letting go of resentment is the cultivation of inner peace. Resentment thrives in a mind that is restless and agitated, but when we cultivate a sense of inner calm, anger has less space to take hold. Stoicism teaches us to focus on maintaining a peaceful mind, even in the face of challenges. This focus on inner peace allows us to navigate difficult situations without becoming overwhelmed by anger or bitterness, helping us release these emotions before they can take root. The Stoics also encourage us to reflect on the cost of anger. When we hold on to resentment, we pay a price, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Anger can lead to stress, anxiety, and tension, all of which take a toll on our health and well-being. By reflecting on the true cost of holding on to anger, we become more motivated to let it go, recognizing that it does more harm to us than to the person we are angry at. This realization helps shift our focus from the offense to our own peace of mind. Another way Stoicism helps in releasing resentment is by reminding us of the impermanence of all things. The events and situations that trigger our anger are often temporary, yet we hold on to them as if they will last forever. Stoicism teaches us to embrace the fleeting nature of life, recognizing that most of what we get angry about will not matter in the long run. By adopting this perspective, we can let go of the resentment that arises from temporary circumstances, freeing ourselves from unnecessary emotional baggage. Letting go of anger also requires a practice of self-reflection. Stoicism encourages us to look inward and examine our own role in the situations that trigger our anger. Often, we blame others for our emotions without considering how our own actions or expectations may have contributed to the conflict. By taking responsibility for our part in the situation, we gain the power to change how we respond in the future. This self-reflection helps us release the anger that comes from blaming others, replacing it with a sense of accountability and growth. Stoicism also teaches us to practice patience in letting go of anger. Releasing deep-seated resentment is not always an immediate process. It takes time and consistent effort to overcome the emotions that have built up over years. Stoicism reminds us that progress is gradual and that we must be patient with ourselves as we work through our anger. By practicing patience, we allow ourselves the space to heal and let go of resentment in a way that is sustainable and lasting. Another important aspect of letting go of resentment through Stoic wisdom is recognizing the power of perspective. Often, our anger is fueled by seeing things from a narrow, self-centered viewpoint. Stoicism encourages us to broaden our perspective, considering how the situation might look from other angles. By stepping outside of our own experience and viewing the situation from a more objective standpoint, we can often see that our anger is not as justified as we first thought. This shift in perspective helps us release the resentment that comes from seeing things only through our own lens. Stoicism also emphasizes the importance of focusing on what truly matters. Resentment often arises when we become fixated on minor offenses or perceived slights. The Stoics teach us to prioritize our energy and attention on what is truly important: our values, our growth, and our peace of mind. By letting go of the small things that trigger our anger, we create more space in our minds for what truly brings us fulfillment and happiness. This focus on the bigger picture helps dissolve the resentment that comes from dwelling on the unimportant. Another powerful Stoic practice for overcoming resentment is learning to let go of the need for revenge or retribution. When we are wronged, it's natural to want to get back at the person who hurt us, but Stoicism teaches that this desire for revenge only perpetuates the cycle of anger and suffering. By letting go of the need for payback, we free ourselves from the ongoing emotional turmoil that comes with holding a grudge. Instead, we focus on our own peace and well-being, allowing the anger to dissipate. Stoicism also teaches us the value of accepting people as they are. Resentment often arises when we expect others to behave in ways that align with our own standards or values. When they don't, we feel anger or frustration. Stoicism reminds us that people act according to their own nature, shaped by their experiences and beliefs. By accepting this reality, we can let go of the anger that comes from expecting others to be different than they are. This acceptance helps us release the resentment that builds when people don't meet our expectations. The Stoics also encourage us to focus on the present moment when letting go of anger. Resentment often pulls us into the past, replaying old hurts and wrongs. Stoicism teaches us that the past is beyond our control, and dwelling on it only keeps us trapped in emotional suffering. By focusing on the present, we can let go of the past and the anger that comes with it, choosing instead to direct our energy toward what we can control in the here and now. Finally, Stoicism reminds us of the power of choice in letting go of anger. We may not be able to control how others treat us or the circumstances we face, but we always have the power to choose how we respond. By choosing to let go of anger, we reclaim our power and free ourselves from the emotional chains of resentment. This choice brings us closer to the peace and clarity that Stoicism promises, allowing us to live with greater freedom and joy. As we release the heavy burden of anger and resentment, the mind opens up to something more transformative, the power of positive focus. With the weight of negative emotions lifted, there is an opportunity to direct your thoughts toward what truly uplifts and serves you. Stoicism teaches that the key to detoxifying the mind lies in where we place our attention. What we focus on shapes our reality, and by consciously choosing to focus on what is positive, we begin to clear out the negativity that often clouds our thinking. This positive focus is not about blind optimism, but about cultivating a mindset that allows for growth, resilience, and clarity. Our thoughts are the foundation of how we experience the world. When we allow negativity to dominate our thinking, it shapes our perspective, often making situations appear worse than they are. Stoicism reminds us that while we cannot control external events, we can always control where we direct our thoughts. By focusing on what is constructive and uplifting, we shift our internal landscape, making it possible to detoxify the mind from the harmful thoughts that drag us down. Positive focus in Stoicism is not about denying challenges or ignoring difficulties. It's about acknowledging reality while choosing to focus on what can be learned, what can be improved, and what can be appreciated. This perspective helps you avoid the trap of fixating on problems and instead directs your energy towards solutions and opportunities. It's a powerful way to detoxify your thoughts because it transforms obstacles into stepping stones, allowing you to navigate life with a clearer, more constructive mindset. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is lacking to what is present, from scarcity to abundance. This practice of focusing on what you already have, rather than what you wish you had, helps detoxify the mind from feelings of inadequacy or dissatisfaction. Gratitude creates a mental environment where positive thoughts can flourish, and in doing so, it pushes out the negative thoughts that thrive on discontent. Another way that Stoicism encourages positive focus is through the concept of amor fati, or love of fate. This principle teaches us to embrace whatever happens, seeing every event, good or bad, as an opportunity for growth. By focusing on accepting life as it unfolds, rather than resisting or lamenting difficult situations, we clear the mind of the negativity that arises from wishing things were different. This acceptance allows us to find peace even in adversity, detoxifying our thoughts from the bitterness and frustration that come from resisting reality. The Stoics also teach that focusing on what is within your control is key to maintaining a positive mindset. So much mental clutter comes from worrying about things we cannot influence, other people's actions, external events, or the future. By narrowing your focus to what you can actually control, your thoughts, actions, and responses, you free your mind from the anxiety that comes from trying to manage the uncontrollable. This shift in focus creates space for positivity and clarity as you stop wasting energy on things beyond your reach. Stoicism encourages us to view setbacks as opportunities for growth rather than reasons for despair. When we focus on the lessons to be learned from difficult situations, we detoxify our minds from the negativity that often accompanies failure or disappointment. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, we shift our attention to how we can improve, what we can take away from the experience, and how we can use it to become stronger. This positive focus transforms challenges into catalysts for personal development. Another important aspect of positive focus in Stoicism is practicing acceptance. Often, our negative thoughts arise from resisting what is, wishing things were different, or trying to change what we cannot control. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing reality and focusing on how to navigate it with grace. This acceptance helps clear the mind of the frustration, anger, and disappointment that come from trying to fight against the inevitable. By focusing on what can be done within the current circumstances, we cultivate a more positive and solution-oriented mindset. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of surrounding yourself with positive influences. The people you spend time with, the media you consume, and the environments you engage with all affect your mental state. By consciously choosing to surround yourself with uplifting and constructive influences, you help detoxify your mind from the negativity that often seeps in through toxic relationships, negative news, or unhealthy environments. Positive focus means being intentional about the energy you allow into your life, knowing that it shapes your thoughts and overall well-being. Another powerful Stoic tool for maintaining positive focus is reframing. Reframing involves changing the way you interpret a situation. Instead of seeing a challenge as a burden, you can view it as a chance to grow. Instead of perceiving a failure as the end, you can see it as the beginning of a new learning opportunity. This shift in perspective helps detoxify your thoughts by transforming negative interpretations into positive, empowering ones. It's a way of taking control of your mindset, ensuring that your focus remains constructive even in the face of adversity. Positive focus also involves cultivating resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, and it is strengthened by focusing on your ability to overcome challenges rather than being consumed by them. The Stoics teach that adversity is a part of life, but it does not have to define us. By focusing on your inner strength and capacity to persevere, you detoxify your mind from feelings of helplessness or defeat. This resilience is built through practice, as each time you overcome a challenge, your confidence in your ability to handle the next one grows. Stoicism teaches that we should focus on our character rather than external achievements. When we focus on building virtues like wisdom, courage, and kindness, we detoxify our thoughts from the constant pressure to prove ourselves through external success. This shift in focus brings a deeper sense of fulfillment as we prioritize inner growth over external validation. By focusing on who we are becoming rather than what we are achieving, we create a mindset that is more peaceful and aligned with our values. Another aspect of positive focus is learning to let go of perfectionism. Perfectionism creates a mental environment where nothing is ever good enough, leading to constant feelings of inadequacy. Stoicism teaches that perfection is an illusion and that we should instead focus on progress. By celebrating small victories and recognizing growth, we detoxify our minds from the negativity that comes from always striving for an unattainable ideal. This shift in focus allows us to appreciate the journey and find contentment in our efforts. The practice of mindfulness, as embraced by Stoicism, also helps us maintain a positive focus. When we are fully present, we are more aware of our thoughts and can choose to focus on those that serve us rather than those that bring us down. Mindfulness helps us catch negative thoughts before they spiral out of control, giving us the opportunity to redirect our focus toward what is positive and constructive. This awareness is key to detoxifying the mind, as it prevents negativity from taking root. Stoicism also encourages the practice of self-compassion as part of maintaining a positive focus. Often, our negative thoughts are directed inward: self-criticism, doubt, and harsh judgment. By practicing self-compassion, we shift our focus from what we perceive as our flaws to our strengths and potential. This gentle approach to ourselves helps detoxify the mind from the damaging effects of constant self-criticism, replacing it with thoughts of acceptance and encouragement. Another Stoic principle that fosters positive focus is the recognition that life is a mixture of joy and hardship. By accepting this duality, we stop expecting life to always be easy or perfect. Instead, we focus on the moments of joy and gratitude, knowing that challenges are temporary and part of the human experience. This balanced perspective helps clear the mind of unrealistic expectations and allows us to appreciate the positive aspects of life without being overwhelmed by the difficult ones. Stoicism also teaches us to focus on contributing to the well-being of others as a way of detoxifying our thoughts. When we focus solely on ourselves, we can become trapped in a cycle of selfish thoughts and worries. By shifting our focus toward helping others, we expand our perspective and create space for more positive, outward-directed thoughts. Acts of kindness, compassion, and generosity not only benefit others, but also elevate our own mindset, pushing out the negative thoughts that arise from self-centered thinking. Another powerful tool in Stoicism for cultivating positive focus is the practice of daily reflection. Reflecting on your day allows you to focus on what went well, what you learned, and how you can improve. This regular practice of self-assessment helps detoxify the mind from regrets or missed opportunities, as it encourages growth and gratitude. By focusing on what you can learn from each day, you transform challenges into opportunities for progress, reinforcing a positive mindset. Stoicism encourages us to focus on long-term goals and values rather than short-term pleasures or setbacks. When we fixate on immediate gratification or minor inconveniences, our minds become cluttered with fleeting desires and frustrations. By focusing on the bigger picture, what we want to achieve in the long run, and who we want to become, we detoxify our minds from the distractions that keep us stuck in the present. This long-term focus helps us navigate life with more clarity and purpose. The practice of forgiveness, as taught by Stoicism, also helps us maintain a positive focus. Holding on to grudges or past hurts fills the mind with resentment and anger, blocking the flow of positive thoughts. By choosing to forgive, not for the sake of the other person, but for our own peace of mind, we clear away the negativity that comes from dwelling on past wrongs. Forgiveness allows us to focus on the present and the future, rather than being tied to the emotional weight of the past. Stoicism also teaches us to focus on progress rather than perfection. In our journey of self-improvement, it's easy to become discouraged by setbacks or slow progress. But by focusing on the small steps forward, we create a positive feedback loop that encourages further growth. Each bit of progress, no matter how small, is a victory. By shifting our focus from the end goal to the process itself, we detoxify our minds from the frustration of unmet expectations and instead embrace the joy of continual improvement. Another important Stoic teaching that supports positive focus is the idea of memento mori, remembering that life is finite. While this may sound somber, it actually serves as a powerful motivator to focus on what truly matters. By keeping the brevity of life in mind, we are reminded to let go of petty concerns and negative thoughts that don't contribute to our overall well-being. This focus on living fully and meaningfully helps clear the mind of distractions and negativity, allowing us to live with greater intention and clarity. Stoicism also encourages the practice of resilience through mental reframing. When faced with difficulties, it's natural to focus on the pain or inconvenience they bring. However, by reframing these challenges as opportunities to grow and strengthen our character, we transform negative situations into positive experiences. This shift in focus not only helps us overcome adversity, but also detoxifies our minds from the victim mentality that often accompanies hardship. Another way that Stoicism helps us maintain positive focus is through the practice of detachment from outcomes. When we become overly attached to specific results, we create a mental environment where disappointment and frustration thrive. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our efforts, not the outcomes, recognizing that we cannot control everything. By letting go of the need for certain outcomes, we free our minds from the anxiety that comes with uncertainty and focus instead on what we can control, our actions and attitudes. Stoicism also emphasizes the importance of self-discipline in maintaining a positive focus. Negative thoughts often arise when we lack discipline and allow ourselves to be swayed by fleeting desires or distractions. By practicing self-discipline, we train our minds to stay focused on what truly matters, avoiding the mental clutter that comes from indulging in short-term pleasures at the expense of long-term goals. This discipline creates a mental environment where positive, focused thoughts can thrive. Another Stoic practice that fosters positive focus is the cultivation of equanimity, remaining calm and composed in the face of life's ups and downs. When we allow external events to dictate our emotional state, our minds become chaotic and overwhelmed. By cultivating equanimity, we maintain a steady focus on what we can control, allowing the external world to unfold without disturbing our inner peace. This calm focus helps detoxify the mind from the emotional turbulence that often comes with life's uncertainties. Stoicism also encourages us to focus on the present moment. Often, our negative thoughts stem from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. By focusing on the present, we ground ourselves in what is real and immediate, clearing away the mental clutter of regrets or anxieties. This present moment focus helps detoxify the mind by keeping us anchored in reality, allowing us to appreciate the here and now without being weighed down by what was or what might be. Positive focus in Stoicism is also about cultivating hope, not blind optimism, but a realistic sense of possibility. When we focus on what we can do to improve our situation, even in the face of challenges, we create a mindset that is solution-oriented rather than problem-focused. This hopeful attitude helps detoxify the mind from despair or helplessness, replacing it with a sense of agency and empowerment. By focusing on what is possible, we open the door to new opportunities and growth. Finally, Stoicism teaches us to focus on living with integrity. When we align our actions with our values, we create a sense of inner harmony that clears away the mental clutter of guilt, shame, or regret. This alignment with our true selves allows us to focus on what matters most, creating a positive, clear mental space where we can thrive. Living with integrity detoxifies our minds from the negative thoughts that come from living out of sync with our values, allowing us to experience peace and fulfillment. As we embrace the power of positive focus and clear our minds of distractions, a deeper understanding of control comes into view. Stoicism teaches us that much of the stress and negativity in our lives comes from focusing on things that lie beyond our influence. The key to inner peace and mental clarity is learning to direct our attention only to what we can control. This practice is not just a mental exercise, but a transformative approach to life that frees us from unnecessary suffering and frustration. By focusing on what we can control, we reclaim our power and let go of the anxiety that arises from trying to manage the uncontrollable. Control, in Stoic philosophy, is the foundation of mental peace. So often, we expend energy on things we cannot change, other people's behavior, external events, or outcomes. When we do this, we set ourselves up for disappointment because these factors are beyond our reach. Stoicism teaches us to shift our focus inward to what we can influence, our thoughts, actions, and reactions. This shift not only clears the mind, but also empowers us to live with greater intention and effectiveness. The Stoics believed that frustration and suffering stem from the gap between our expectations and reality. When we expect things to go a certain way and they don't, we experience stress, anger, or disappointment. But these emotions are often the result of focusing on outcomes we cannot control. By releasing these expectations and focusing only on what we can do in the moment, we reduce the mental noise that arises from unmet desires. This practice creates a sense of calm because we no longer tie our happiness to things we cannot influence. One of the most profound realizations in Stoicism is that control is an illusion when it comes to external events. We often deceive ourselves into thinking that if we try hard enough, we can make everything turn out the way we want. But life is unpredictable, and external circumstances are often shaped by forces beyond our comprehension. By accepting this truth, we stop fighting against reality and learn to focus on what is truly within our control, our mindset, our actions, and our choices. This acceptance brings freedom, as we are no longer held captive by the need to control the uncontrollable. Focusing on what we can control also helps us develop resilience. When we are no longer tied to specific outcomes, we can navigate life's challenges with greater flexibility and adaptability. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from within, from our ability to remain steady in the face of adversity. By directing our focus toward what we can control, how we respond to difficult situations, we build a mental resilience that allows us to face setbacks without being overwhelmed. This resilience is the key to enduring hardship with grace. Another powerful aspect of focusing on what we can control is that it reduces anxiety. Much of our anxiety comes from worrying about things that are beyond our influence, the future, the actions of others, or potential problems that may never arise. By focusing on what we can do in the present moment, we ground ourselves in reality and reduce the mental clutter of what-if scenarios. This shift in focus helps clear the mind of unnecessary worries, allowing us to approach life with greater calm and clarity. Stoicism also teaches that by focusing on what we can control, we take responsibility for our own happiness. Too often, we place our sense of well-being in the hands of external factors, waiting for others to behave a certain way or for circumstances to align perfectly before we allow ourselves to be happy. But Stoicism reminds us that happiness is an internal state, shaped by our thoughts and attitudes, not by external events. By focusing on our own thoughts and actions, we take ownership of our happiness and stop relying on external validation or conditions. When we focus on what we can control, we also cultivate a deeper sense of contentment. So much of our dissatisfaction comes from comparing ourselves to others or wishing our lives were different. But these desires are often tied to things we cannot influence, other people's success, the past, or the expectations of society. By letting go of these comparisons and focusing on our own path, we create space for contentment. We begin to appreciate our own journey and recognize that we have the power to shape our lives through our choices and actions. Focusing on what we can control also helps us navigate relationships with greater ease. Much of the conflict in relationships arises from trying to change or control the behavior of others. We want people to act in ways that align with our expectations, and when they don't, we feel frustrated or hurt. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control how others behave, only how we respond. By shifting our focus away from trying to control others and instead focusing on our own reactions, we reduce conflict and create more harmonious relationships. This principle also extends to how we deal with criticism. It's natural to feel defensive or upset when others criticize us, but Stoicism teaches that we cannot control how others perceive us. What we can control is how we respond to their feedback, whether we choose to learn from it or let it go. By focusing on what we can control in these situations, we free ourselves from the need for approval and build a stronger sense of self-worth based on our own values and actions. In Stoicism, focusing on what we can control also means letting go of the past. The past is unchangeable, and dwelling on it only leads to regret or frustration. By accepting that the past is beyond our control, we free ourselves from the emotional weight of past mistakes or missed opportunities. Instead, we focus on what we can do now to create the future we want. This focus on the present allows us to move forward with greater clarity and purpose. Focusing on what we can control also helps us deal with uncertainty. Life is full of unknowns, and it's easy to become overwhelmed by the fear of what might happen. But Stoicism teaches that worrying about the future is futile because it is beyond our control. Instead, we should focus on what we can do in the present to prepare for the future without becoming consumed by fear or anxiety. This shift in focus helps us navigate uncertainty with greater calm and confidence. Another benefit of focusing on what we can control is that it enhances our problem-solving abilities. When we are fixated on external factors or outcomes we cannot change, we waste mental energy on frustration and worry. But when we focus on what we can do, we become more solution-oriented. This mindset allows us to approach challenges with a clear and constructive attitude, focusing on actions that lead to progress rather than getting stuck in the problem. The Stoic focus on control also helps us cultivate humility. When we recognize how little we can truly control in the external world, we develop a sense of humility about our place in the universe. This humility helps us let go of the need to control everything and everyone around us, freeing us from the pressure to manage outcomes that are beyond our reach. Instead, we focus on our own growth and development, recognizing that our true power lies within. Focusing on what we can control also leads to greater emotional stability. When we focus on external events, our emotions often fluctuate based on what happens around us. If things go well, we feel happy. If they don't, we feel upset. But Stoicism teaches that true emotional stability comes from within, from focusing on our own thoughts and actions. By grounding our emotions in what we can control, we create a sense of internal balance that is not easily shaken by external circumstances. This focus also encourages personal accountability. When we focus on what we can control, we take responsibility for our own actions and choices. We stop blaming others or external circumstances for our problems and instead focus on what we can do to improve our situation. This accountability empowers us to make positive changes in our lives as we recognize that we have the ability to shape our own future through our decisions. Another important aspect of Stoic control is the idea of accepting impermanence. Everything in life is temporary: people, possessions, and even our own experiences. By focusing on what we can control, we learn to accept the impermanence of life without becoming attached to outcomes or material things. This acceptance frees us from the fear of loss, allowing us to live more fully in the present without clinging to things that are beyond our control. Focusing on what we can control also helps us develop patience. Often, we become impatient when things don't happen as quickly as we would like. But Stoicism teaches that we cannot control the timing of events, only our response to them. By focusing on what we can do in the moment, we cultivate patience, knowing that progress takes time and that we have the power to make small steps toward our goals. Stoicism also teaches us that focusing on what we can control leads to greater freedom. When we are constantly trying to control things that are beyond our reach, we become enslaved to external circumstances. But by focusing on what we can control, we free ourselves from this external dependence and reclaim our own agency. This freedom allows us to live more authentically, guided by our own values rather than the expectations or demands of others. Another powerful benefit of focusing on what we can control is that it helps us manage stress. Much of the stress we experience comes from trying to juggle too many responsibilities or worrying about things we cannot change. By narrowing our focus to what is within our control, we reduce the mental load that stress creates. This focused approach allows us to handle challenges more effectively without being overwhelmed by the pressure of trying to manage everything at once. Stoicism also teaches that focusing on what we can control strengthens our character. When we focus on our own thoughts and actions, we are constantly refining our ability to make wise and virtuous choices. This practice helps us develop qualities like courage, wisdom, and integrity, as we are no longer distracted by external factors that don't align with our values. This focus on character growth leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment as we live in alignment with our true selves. Focusing on what we can control also helps us navigate disappointment. Life doesn't always go as planned, and when things don't turn out the way we hoped, it's easy to feel discouraged. But Stoicism teaches that disappointment often arises from placing our happiness in outcomes beyond our control. By focusing on our own actions and doing our best in any situation, we can find peace even when things don't go as expected. This perspective helps us bounce back from disappointment more quickly, as we are not tied to external results. Another benefit of focusing on what we can control is that it helps us maintain a sense of purpose. When we are constantly reacting to external events, we can lose sight of what truly matters to us. But by focusing on what we can do, we stay connected to our goals and values. This sense of purpose helps guide our actions, even in difficult circumstances, and provides a sense of direction and meaning in our lives. The Stoic focus on control also helps us cultivate gratitude. When we focus on what we can control, we become more aware of the things we do have power over: our health, our relationships, our ability to learn and grow. This awareness fosters a sense of gratitude for the aspects of life that are within our reach. By focusing on what we can control, we stop taking these things for granted and begin to appreciate the opportunities we have to shape our own lives. Another key aspect of Stoic control is the practice of detachment from outcomes. When we focus on what we can control, we let go of the need for specific results. This detachment helps us remain calm and focused, even when things don't go as planned. By focusing on the effort rather than the outcome, we free ourselves from the pressure to achieve perfection and instead find fulfillment in the process of growth and improvement. Stoicism also teaches that focusing on what we can control helps us develop wisdom. Wisdom comes from the ability to see things clearly and make decisions based on reason rather than emotion. By focusing on what we can control, we remove the emotional noise that often clouds our judgment and allows us to make more thoughtful, deliberate choices. This practice of focusing on what is within our control leads to greater clarity and understanding in all areas of life. Focusing on what we can control also helps us build stronger relationships. When we stop trying to control others and instead focus on our own behavior, we create space for more authentic connections. By accepting people as they are, rather than trying to change them, we foster greater trust and respect in our relationships. This acceptance allows for more meaningful and fulfilling connections, as we let go of the need to control how others behave or respond to us. Another powerful aspect of focusing on what we can control is that it helps us let go of fear. Fear often arises from worrying about things that are beyond our influence, the future, the unknown, or potential failure. By focusing on what we can control, we reduce the power of fear in our lives. This shift in focus allows us to face challenges with greater confidence, knowing that we have the ability to shape our own actions and responses, even if we cannot control the outcome. Stoicism also teaches that focusing on what we can control brings a sense of peace. When we let go of the need to control external events, we stop fighting against reality. This acceptance of what is allows us to live with greater serenity, as we are no longer caught up in the mental struggle to make things go our way. This peace comes from knowing that we have done our best within our own sphere of influence, and that is enough. Focusing on what we can control also helps us stay grounded in the present moment. So much of our mental energy is wasted on worrying about the future or regretting the past, things we cannot change. But Stoicism teaches that the present moment is where our true power lies. By focusing on what we can do right now, we reduce the mental clutter of past and future concerns, allowing us to live more fully in the present. Another benefit of focusing on what we can control is that it helps us develop emotional intelligence. When we focus on our own thoughts and reactions, we become more aware of our emotions and how they influence our behavior. This self-awareness allows us to manage our emotions more effectively, reducing the likelihood of being swept away by anger, fear, or frustration. By focusing on what we can control, we gain greater emotional mastery, which leads to more balanced and thoughtful responses to life's challenges. The practice of focusing on what we can control also helps us cultivate a mindset of abundance. When we focus on external factors, we often feel a sense of scarcity, believing that we don't have enough time, resources, or opportunities. But Stoicism teaches that true abundance comes from within, from the recognition that we always have control over our thoughts, actions, and responses. This shift in focus helps us see life through a lens of possibility rather than limitation. Finally, Stoicism teaches that focusing on what we can control leads to a deeper sense of self-empowerment. When we stop giving our power away to external events, we reclaim our ability to shape our own lives. This empowerment comes from the understanding that while we cannot control everything, we always have the power to choose how we respond. This sense of agency allows us to live with greater freedom, purpose, and peace, knowing that we are the architects of our own experience. As we learn to focus on what we can control, we gain a sense of peace and empowerment. But in today's world, distractions are constant, pulling us away from that control and clarity. The Stoics understood that mental clarity, the foundation of a well-lived life, requires intentional focus and the elimination of distractions that clutter the mind. In a world filled with noise, both external and internal, the ability to maintain mental clarity is more essential than ever. The Stoics offer timeless wisdom on how to cut through these distractions, allowing the mind to remain sharp, calm, and fully present. Distractions often lure us away from what truly matters, whether it's the endless stream of information, social media, or our own internal chatter. Distractions scatter our attention. The Stoics teach that clarity comes from a focused mind, one that is not swayed by external noise. This focus isn't something we achieve by accident. It requires conscious effort to guard our minds from the things that pull us off course. By choosing what we allow into our mental space, we preserve clarity and direct our energy toward what is meaningful. One of the most effective ways the Stoics maintain mental clarity is through the practice of simplicity. When life becomes overly complicated, it's easy to lose sight of what matters. The more we fill our days with unnecessary tasks, the harder it is to stay mentally clear. Stoicism encourages us to strip away the excess, focusing on the essentials. This minimalistic approach applies not just to our material possessions, but also to our thoughts. By eliminating the clutter in our minds, we create space for clarity and purposeful action. In Stoicism, distractions are seen as obstacles to achieving inner peace. The Stoics remind us that many of the things we chase after, status, wealth, and approval, are distractions that keep us from focusing on what really matters, our character and our actions. By letting go of the need to pursue external validation, we eliminate one of the greatest sources of mental distraction. This detachment allows us to focus on personal growth and self-mastery, leading to greater clarity and a more peaceful mind. Another source of distraction comes from our tendency to worry about things beyond our control. The Stoics teach that fretting over the future or obsessing about the past only clouds the mind. By focusing on the present moment and what we can control, we eliminate the mental noise that distracts us from living fully. This practice of presence helps us clear away the anxieties that so often dominate our thoughts, allowing us to engage more deeply with the here and now. The Stoics also believed in the power of routine to eliminate distractions. When our lives lack structure, it's easy for distractions to slip in and take over. A well-designed routine helps create boundaries for our time and attention, ensuring that we stay focused on what matters most. The discipline of following a routine strengthens our ability to resist distractions as we become more intentional with how we spend each moment. This structured approach fosters mental clarity by reducing the chances of being pulled in too many directions. Mental clarity also requires us to set boundaries with technology. In the modern world, we are constantly bombarded with notifications, emails, and messages demanding our attention. While technology can be a useful tool, it also has the potential to scatter our focus. The Stoics would advise us to use technology mindfully, choosing when and how we engage with it. By setting limits on our screen time and creating intentional moments of disconnect, we reduce the distractions that come from constant connectivity, preserving mental clarity. Internal distractions are just as potent as external ones. The Stoics understood that our own thoughts can be a source of mental clutter, especially when they are filled with doubt, fear, or negativity. By practicing self-awareness, we can identify these internal distractions and redirect our thoughts toward more productive and constructive paths. This mental discipline allows us to clear away the thoughts that cloud our minds and focus instead on what serves us. The Stoics also emphasized the importance of focusing on one task at a time. Multitasking, though often praised in modern society, is a major source of mental distraction. When we divide our attention between multiple tasks, we lose the ability to focus deeply on any one thing. Stoicism teaches that by committing fully to the task at hand, we cultivate a deeper sense of clarity and purpose. This single-minded focus not only improves the quality of our work, but also reduces the mental strain that comes from constantly shifting our attention. Another way Stoicism helps eliminate distractions is by encouraging us to live according to our values. When we are unclear about our priorities, we are more susceptible to being pulled in different directions. The Stoics teach that clarity comes from knowing what we stand for and aligning our actions with those principles. By living with purpose, we eliminate the distractions that come from chasing after things that don't truly matter to us. This alignment between values and actions fosters a clear, focused mind that is less easily swayed by external noise. The Stoics also remind us to practice detachment from outcomes. When we become fixated on specific results, we allow those desires to distract us from the present moment. By focusing on the process rather than the outcome, we reduce the mental distractions that come from worrying about whether things will turn out the way we hope. This shift in focus allows us to engage more fully with what we are doing in the moment, leading to greater clarity and peace of mind. Another powerful Stoic practice for eliminating distractions is daily reflection. At the end of each day, the Stoics would reflect on their thoughts, actions, and experiences, considering what they did well and where they could improve. This practice helps clear the mental clutter that builds up throughout the day, allowing for greater clarity moving forward. By regularly assessing our lives, we become more intentional with our time and energy, reducing the distractions that come from drifting through life without reflection. Stoicism also teaches us to let go of the need for perfection. The pursuit of perfection is a major source of distraction, as it keeps us constantly striving for something that is unattainable. By accepting that mistakes are part of the process, we free ourselves from the mental burden of always trying to get everything exactly right. This acceptance allows us to focus on progress rather than perfection, clearing away the distractions that come from unrealistic expectations. Another way the Stoics eliminate distractions is by practicing gratitude. When we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, we reduce the distractions that come from constantly wanting more. Gratitude shifts our attention away from external desires and toward the present moment, creating a sense of contentment and clarity. By cultivating an attitude of gratitude, we clear away the mental clutter of dissatisfaction, allowing us to focus on what truly matters. The Stoics also teach the importance of managing our time wisely. Time is one of our most valuable resources, yet it is easy to waste it on distractions that don't contribute to our growth or well-being. By being intentional with how we use our time, we eliminate the distractions that come from aimless activities or procrastination. Stoicism encourages us to make the most of each moment, recognizing that time is finite and should be spent on what truly matters. Another key to eliminating distractions in Stoicism is learning to say no. We often become distracted because we take on too many commitments, spreading ourselves too thin. The Stoics remind us that we cannot do everything, and by saying no to what doesn't align with our values or goals, we create space for clarity and focus. This practice of setting boundaries helps protect our mental energy, ensuring that we are not overwhelmed by distractions that pull us away from our true priorities. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of self-discipline in maintaining mental clarity. Distractions often arise when we lack the discipline to stay focused on what we need to do. By cultivating self-discipline, we strengthen our ability to resist distractions and stay committed to our goals. This practice of discipline helps clear the mental clutter that comes from giving in to temptation or procrastination, allowing us to stay on course. Another powerful Stoic principle for eliminating distractions is the practice of silence. In a world filled with constant noise, both literal and figurative, silence offers a refuge for the mind. The Stoics valued periods of silence as a way to clear the mental chatter and reconnect with their inner selves. By creating moments of silence in our lives, whether through meditation, reflection, or simply disconnecting from the external world, we reduce the distractions that come from constant stimulation, allowing for greater mental clarity. The Stoics also teach the importance of focusing on quality over quantity. In today's fast-paced world, we are often distracted by the need to do more, achieve more, and accumulate more. But this constant pursuit of more can cloud our minds and lead to burnout. Stoicism encourages us to focus on doing fewer things, but doing them with greater intention and care. This focus on quality helps eliminate the distractions that come from spreading ourselves too thin, allowing us to cultivate a deeper sense of clarity and purpose. Another way Stoicism helps us eliminate distractions is by encouraging us to let go of comparisons. Comparing ourselves to others is a major source of mental distraction, as it pulls our focus away from our own journey and toward the achievements or lives of others. The Stoics remind us that each person's path is unique, and that comparing ourselves to others only leads to dissatisfaction. By letting go of comparisons, we free our minds from the distractions that come from trying to measure up to external standards, allowing us to focus on our own growth and progress. The Stoics also remind us to be mindful of our environment. The spaces we occupy can either support mental clarity or contribute to distraction. A cluttered, chaotic environment often leads to a cluttered mind. By simplifying and organizing our physical surroundings, we create a space that fosters focus and clarity. This intentional approach to our environment helps reduce the distractions that come from physical disarray, allowing us to maintain a clearer, more focused mindset. Another Stoic practice for eliminating distractions is focusing on what truly matters. When we are unclear about our priorities, we are more likely to be pulled in multiple directions by distractions. Stoicism teaches that clarity comes from knowing what we value and directing our energy toward those things. By aligning our actions with our values, we eliminate the distractions that come from chasing after things that don't align with our true purpose. The Stoics also teach that mental clarity requires us to embrace the present moment. So often, distractions arise when our minds are preoccupied with the past or the future. We replay old conversations, worry about future events, or get lost in daydreams. By focusing on the present, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from these distractions. This practice of presence helps us engage more fully with what is happening right now, fostering a sense of clarity and peace. Another key to eliminating distractions in Stoicism is managing our desires. Desires, when left unchecked, can lead to mental restlessness and distraction. The Stoics teach that we should be mindful of our desires, distinguishing between what is necessary and what is superfluous. By focusing on what we truly need rather than what we want, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from chasing after unnecessary things. This practice helps create a more focused and content mindset. The Stoics also remind us to focus on what we can control. Many distractions arise from worrying about things that are beyond our influence. By narrowing our focus to what we can actually control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, we eliminate the distractions that come from trying to manage the uncontrollable. This shift in focus helps clear the mind of unnecessary worries and concerns, allowing us to maintain mental clarity. Another powerful Stoic practice for eliminating distractions is reframing our perspective. Often, distractions arise when we focus on what we don't have or what is going wrong. By reframing our perspective and focusing on the positives, we clear away the mental clutter that comes from negative thinking. This shift in focus helps create a more constructive and solution-oriented mindset, allowing us to stay focused on what truly matters. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of rest in maintaining mental clarity. When we are overworked or exhausted, we are more susceptible to distractions because our minds are too tired to focus. Stoicism teaches that rest is essential for maintaining clarity and balance. By giving ourselves time to recharge, we eliminate the distractions that come from mental fatigue, ensuring that we can approach our tasks with a clear and focused mind. Another Stoic principle for eliminating distractions is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us become aware of the distractions that pull us away from the present moment. By staying mindful of where our attention is going, we can catch distractions before they take over and redirect our focus back to what is important. This practice of awareness helps clear the mind of unnecessary thoughts and distractions, allowing us to stay engaged with the present moment. The Stoics also teach the value of intention in eliminating distractions. When we approach our tasks with clear intentions, we are less likely to be distracted by unrelated thoughts or activities. By setting clear goals and focusing on what we want to achieve, we create a sense of purpose that helps guide our actions. This intentionality helps eliminate the distractions that come from aimless wandering or lack of direction, fostering a more focused and productive mindset. Another way Stoicism helps eliminate distractions is through the practice of resilience. Life is full of unexpected challenges, and it's easy to become distracted by setbacks or difficulties. The Stoics teach that resilience comes from focusing on what we can control and staying committed to our goals, even in the face of adversity. This focus on resilience helps eliminate the distractions that come from dwelling on failures or obstacles, allowing us to keep moving forward with clarity and determination. The Stoics also remind us to cultivate patience as a way to eliminate distractions. Distractions often arise when we become impatient, wanting results immediately, or feeling frustrated by delays. By practicing patience, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from rushing or trying to force outcomes. This patience helps create a sense of calm and focus, allowing us to approach our tasks with a clearer, more centered mindset. Another Stoic practice for eliminating distractions is the cultivation of inner peace. Distractions often arise when our minds are agitated or restless. By focusing on cultivating a sense of inner peace, we create a mental environment that is less susceptible to distractions. This peace comes from accepting what we cannot control and focusing on what we can do in the moment. By fostering this sense of calm, we eliminate the distractions that come from internal turmoil, allowing us to maintain clarity and focus. Finally, the Stoics teach that eliminating distractions requires consistency. Mental clarity is not something we achieve once and for all. It requires ongoing effort and discipline. By consistently practicing the principles of Stoicism, focusing on what we can control, aligning our actions with our values, and eliminating unnecessary distractions, we create a mindset that is clear, focused, and resilient. This consistency helps ensure that we can maintain mental clarity, even in a world filled with distractions, allowing us to live with greater purpose and peace. As we clear away distractions and focus our minds, we come to realize that much of the mental clutter we experience comes from our attachment to external events. The Stoics taught that to achieve true mental clarity, we must learn to detach ourselves from things outside of our control. External events, whether they be outcomes, situations, or the actions of others, often create emotional turmoil when we become too attached to them. Detachment, therefore, is not about indifference, but about freeing ourselves from the unnecessary suffering that comes from tying our peace of mind to things beyond our influence. It is a pathway to mental detox and inner calm. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is that we cannot control what happens to us, only how we respond. When we cling to external events and expect them to go a certain way, we set ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. Detachment helps us maintain emotional balance because we are no longer relying on the outside world to meet our expectations. By letting go of this attachment, we free our minds from the constant tension that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. Detachment from external events also reduces anxiety. Much of our mental stress comes from worrying about things that haven't happened yet, or trying to anticipate how situations will unfold. When we are attached to specific outcomes, we become consumed with fear of things going wrong. Detachment allows us to accept that whatever happens is beyond our control and therefore not worth our mental energy. This acceptance helps to quiet the mind, replacing anxious thoughts with a sense of calm and readiness for whatever may come. Another important aspect of detachment in Stoicism is the idea of impermanence. The Stoics understood that everything in life is fleeting: people, possessions, experiences. When we attach ourselves to these temporary things, we create suffering because we resist the natural flow of life. Detachment helps us embrace the impermanence of all things, knowing that clinging to what is temporary only leads to frustration. By accepting that everything is in a constant state of change, we release the mental burden of trying to hold on to what cannot be kept. Detachment from external events also brings a sense of freedom. When we are overly attached to outcomes, we become prisoners of our expectations. We invest our happiness in things turning out a certain way, and when they don't, we feel disappointed or defeated. Detachment frees us from this cycle of emotional highs and lows. By accepting that we cannot control the results, we liberate ourselves from the need for things to be perfect. This freedom allows us to focus on what truly matters: our actions, our character, and our inner peace. One of the most powerful effects of detachment is the way it strengthens resilience. Life is full of challenges, and when we are attached to specific outcomes, we are easily knocked off course when things don't go as planned. Detachment allows us to weather life's storms with greater stability because our sense of peace is no longer tied to external circumstances. This resilience comes from the inner strength that develops when we stop letting outside events dictate our emotional state. The practice of detachment also encourages us to live in the present moment. When we are constantly worrying about the future or regretting the past, we lose touch with the here and now. This mental distraction creates clutter and confusion. Detachment helps us focus on what is happening in the present, without being distracted by what might happen next or what has already passed. This present-focused mindset fosters mental clarity and helps us engage more fully with life as it unfolds. Detachment from external events also nurtures a sense of inner peace. When we are not emotionally invested in outcomes beyond our control, we no longer experience the emotional roller coaster of hope and disappointment. Instead, we cultivate a steady sense of calm, knowing that whatever happens, we have the power to choose how we respond. This inner peace becomes a source of strength, allowing us to face challenges without being overwhelmed by them. Another benefit of detachment is that it helps us stay focused on what is within our control. When we are attached to external events, we often spend our time and energy trying to manipulate situations or people to fit our desires. This not only leads to frustration, but also distracts us from what we can actually influence: our own actions, thoughts, and behaviors. Detachment allows us to redirect our focus toward personal responsibility, empowering us to take meaningful action without being weighed down by the uncontrollable. The Stoics teach that detachment from external events also fosters humility. When we are attached to outcomes, we often place ourselves at the center of the universe, believing that everything should go according to our plans. Detachment reminds us that we are just one part of a much larger whole, and that life does not revolve around our desires. This humility helps us let go of the need for control, creating space for acceptance and peace in the face of uncertainty. Detachment also cultivates emotional intelligence. When we are too closely tied to external events, our emotions are often reactive and volatile. Detachment allows us to step back from our emotions and observe them without being consumed by them. This emotional distance gives us the clarity to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. By detaching from the immediate emotional charge of situations, we gain greater mastery over our emotional responses, leading to more balanced and effective decision-making. Another way detachment helps with mental detox is by reducing the need for validation from others. Often, we become attached to the opinions or approval of those around us, and this attachment creates mental clutter as we constantly seek to meet others' expectations. Detachment frees us from this need for external validation, allowing us to focus on our own values and self-worth. This shift reduces the mental noise that comes from trying to please everyone, fostering a greater sense of inner contentment. The Stoics also teach that detachment from external events allows us to approach life with curiosity rather than fear. When we are attached to specific outcomes, we fear anything that might disrupt our plans or expectations. Detachment helps us embrace uncertainty with an open mind, seeing life's twists and turns as opportunities for growth rather than threats. This shift in perspective helps us approach challenges with a sense of curiosity, reducing the mental stress that comes from fearing the unknown. Detachment also helps us cultivate compassion for ourselves and others. When we are overly attached to outcomes, we often judge ourselves harshly when things don't go as planned, or we blame others for our disappointment. Detachment allows us to see that not everything is within our control and that failure or setbacks are a natural part of life. This understanding fosters greater self-compassion as we stop blaming ourselves for things that were never ours to control. It also helps us extend this compassion to others, recognizing that everyone is navigating their own challenges. Another powerful effect of detachment is that it helps us let go of perfectionism. When we are attached to the idea that everything must be perfect, we create unnecessary mental stress and pressure. Detachment allows us to release the need for perfection and instead focus on doing our best in any given moment. This shift in focus helps us appreciate the process rather than fixating on the outcome, clearing away the mental clutter of unrealistic expectations and allowing us to find peace in imperfection. The practice of detachment also fosters gratitude. When we are not attached to external events, we are more able to appreciate what we have in the present moment. Detachment helps us see that we are not owed anything by the world, and this realization shifts our focus from entitlement to gratitude. By letting go of the need for things to be a certain way, we open our minds to the abundance that already exists in our lives, creating space for greater appreciation and contentment. Detachment from external events also allows us to experience joy more fully. When we are attached to outcomes, our happiness becomes conditional, dependent on things turning out the way we want. Detachment frees us from this conditional mindset, allowing us to experience joy in the present moment, regardless of the outcome. This freedom helps us find happiness in the small moments of life, rather than constantly chasing after something more. Another benefit of detachment is that it enhances our ability to solve problems. When we are overly attached to a specific outcome, we often become fixated on one solution, even if it's not the best one. Detachment allows us to step back and view problems from a broader perspective, opening up new possibilities and solutions that we might not have considered before. This flexibility of thought helps clear the mental blocks that come from rigid thinking, allowing us to approach challenges with greater creativity and insight. The Stoics also teach that detachment from external events helps us develop patience. When we are attached to outcomes, we often become impatient, wanting things to happen quickly or in a specific way. Detachment allows us to trust the process, knowing that not everything unfolds according to our timeline. This patience helps reduce the mental frustration that comes from wanting to rush or force outcomes, allowing us to approach life with greater calm and acceptance. Another important aspect of detachment is that it helps us cultivate inner strength. When we are no longer reliant on external events to determine our happiness, we build a sense of resilience that comes from within. This inner strength allows us to remain steady and grounded, even when life is unpredictable or challenging. Detachment helps us develop the mental fortitude to face adversity with confidence, knowing that our well-being is not dependent on things going exactly as planned. The Stoics also emphasize that detachment helps us avoid unnecessary suffering. Much of the mental and emotional pain we experience comes from our attachment to how we think things should be. When reality does not match our expectations, we suffer. Detachment allows us to release these expectations and accept life as it is, reducing the mental turmoil that comes from resisting reality. This acceptance creates space for peace, as we are no longer battling against what we cannot change. Detachment from external events also fosters a sense of humility. When we are attached to specific outcomes, we often believe that we know what is best and try to control everything around us. Detachment reminds us that we are not all-knowing and that life's outcomes are often beyond our understanding. This humility helps us let go of the need for control and instead trust in the natural unfolding of events. This trust reduces the mental strain that comes from trying to manage everything ourselves. Another benefit of detachment is that it helps us avoid the trap of comparison. When we are attached to external events, we often compare ourselves to others, measuring our success or happiness against theirs. This comparison creates mental stress and dissatisfaction. Detachment frees us from the need to compete with others, allowing us to focus on our own journey. By letting go of comparisons, we create a sense of inner peace, knowing that our path is unique and cannot be measured by external standards. The Stoics also teach that detachment helps us develop a sense of equanimity. Equanimity is the ability to remain calm and composed, regardless of external circumstances. When we are detached from outcomes, we no longer experience the emotional highs and lows that come from getting too invested in external events. This balance allows us to navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease, maintaining a sense of inner stability even when the world around us is uncertain. Another way detachment helps with mental detox is by reducing our attachment to material possessions. The Stoics remind us that material things are temporary and can be lost at any moment. When we are attached to our possessions, we create anxiety and fear around losing them. Detachment allows us to appreciate what we have without becoming overly attached to it. This mindset reduces the mental clutter that comes from worrying about material loss, helping us find contentment with less. Detachment from external events also enhances our relationships. When we are attached to how others behave or respond to us, we create tension and conflict in our interactions. Detachment allows us to accept others as they are, without trying to change them or control their actions. This acceptance fosters more harmonious relationships, as we are no longer caught up in trying to make others fit our expectations. By letting go of the need for others to act a certain way, we create space for more authentic and loving connections. The Stoics also teach that detachment helps us approach life with greater flexibility. When we are attached to a specific plan or outcome, we often become rigid in our thinking, unable to adapt to changing circumstances. Detachment allows us to remain open to new possibilities and solutions, even when things don't go as expected. This flexibility helps clear the mental clutter that comes from trying to force life into a specific mold, allowing us to flow more easily with whatever comes our way. Another benefit of detachment is that it helps us let go of grudges. When we are attached to past wrongs, we carry the mental and emotional weight of resentment. Detachment allows us to release these grievances, recognizing that holding on to anger only harms us. By letting go of the need for revenge or retribution, we free our minds from the toxic emotions that come from clinging to past hurts. This forgiveness helps clear the mental space needed for peace and healing. Detachment from external events also helps us focus on personal growth. When we are no longer consumed with trying to control the outside world, we can direct our energy toward our own development. This inward focus allows us to cultivate the qualities that lead to a fulfilling and meaningful life: wisdom, courage, and kindness. By letting go of the need to manage external outcomes, we create the mental clarity needed to grow and evolve on a deeper level. The Stoics teach that detachment also helps us embrace the unknown. Life is full of uncertainty, and when we are attached to knowing exactly how things will turn out, we create anxiety and fear. Detachment allows us to step into the unknown with confidence, trusting that we can handle whatever comes our way. This trust in ourselves reduces the mental clutter of worrying about the future, allowing us to live with greater peace and presence. Another important aspect of detachment is that it helps us develop patience. When we are attached to immediate results, we often become impatient and frustrated when things don't happen as quickly as we would like. Detachment allows us to trust the timing of life, knowing that not everything unfolds on our schedule. This patience helps reduce the mental stress that comes from wanting to rush or force outcomes, allowing us to approach life with greater calm and acceptance. Finally, detachment from external events leads to greater mental clarity. When we are no longer consumed by the need to control or predict the future, our minds become more focused and clear. This clarity allows us to see things as they are, without the distortion of our own expectations or fears. By letting go of our attachment to external events, we create the mental space needed for true insight and understanding, allowing us to live with greater wisdom, peace, and fulfillment. As we embrace the wisdom of detachment and free ourselves from the weight of external events, we uncover a deeper need for inner peace. The Stoics understood that cultivating a calm and clear mind is the foundation of a life well lived. In a world filled with constant demands and noise, achieving this mental clarity can feel elusive. However, through Stoic practices, it becomes possible to cultivate a state of mind that is both calm and resilient. The journey toward mental peace requires discipline, self-awareness, and the application of Stoic principles that guide us toward clarity in even the most challenging moments. One of the most important Stoic practices for cultivating a calm mind is learning to control our reactions. The Stoics taught that while we cannot control what happens around us, we can always control how we respond. This shift in focus allows us to maintain our inner calm even when the external world is chaotic. By choosing how we react to circumstances, we protect our peace of mind and prevent ourselves from being swept away by emotional turbulence. This practice fosters a sense of stability that is essential for mental clarity. Another Stoic approach to calming the mind is through self-reflection. The Stoics encourage daily reflection on our thoughts, actions, and emotions. By taking time to examine our day and consider how we responded to various situations, we gain insight into our behavior and identify areas where we can improve. This practice helps clear mental clutter by allowing us to learn from our experiences, rather than being weighed down by regrets or unexamined emotions. Through reflection, we create space for growth and self-awareness, which leads to a calmer and more focused mind. The Stoics also emphasized the importance of accepting what is beyond our control. Much of the mental stress we experience comes from resisting reality, wishing things were different, or trying to change what cannot be changed. Stoic acceptance is not about resignation, but about understanding the limits of our influence. By accepting what we cannot control, we free our minds from the mental struggle of fighting against the inevitable. This acceptance brings a deep sense of calm, as we no longer expend energy on things that are outside of our reach. One of the most powerful Stoic tools for cultivating a clear mind is focusing on the present moment. When we allow our thoughts to drift to the past or the future, we often become lost in worry, regret, or anticipation. The Stoics remind us that the present is the only moment we truly have control over. By focusing on the here and now, we ground ourselves in reality and reduce the mental distractions that come from living outside of the present. This practice not only calms the mind, but also enhances our ability to fully engage with life as it unfolds. Another essential Stoic practice for mental clarity is learning to let go of perfectionism. The pursuit of perfection often leads to frustration and disappointment as we set ourselves impossible standards that are difficult to meet. The Stoics taught that progress is more important than perfection. By focusing on continuous improvement rather than flawless outcomes, we release the mental pressure that comes from unrealistic expectations. This shift in perspective allows us to find peace in the effort itself, rather than being consumed by the need to achieve perfection. Gratitude is another Stoic practice that fosters a calm and clear mind. When we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, we cultivate a mindset of abundance. Gratitude helps shift our attention away from dissatisfaction and toward appreciation for the present moment. This practice reduces the mental clutter of always wanting more, allowing us to find contentment in what is already available to us. Gratitude, in turn, creates space for clarity by eliminating the distractions of desire and comparison. The Stoics also teach that simplifying our lives is key to mental calm. A cluttered life often leads to a cluttered mind. When we fill our days with unnecessary tasks, commitments, or distractions, we lose sight of what is truly important. Simplifying our lives, both materially and mentally, helps create space for clarity and focus. By removing what is not essential, we allow ourselves to concentrate on what truly matters, fostering a sense of peace and purpose in the process. Another practice that helps cultivate a calm mind is embracing change. The Stoics recognized that life is in a constant state of flux, and resisting change only leads to mental distress. By accepting that change is a natural part of life, we free ourselves from the anxiety that comes from trying to hold on to what cannot be preserved. This acceptance of impermanence allows us to navigate life's transitions with greater ease, maintaining our mental clarity even in the face of uncertainty. The Stoics also taught the value of equanimity, remaining composed and steady in both good times and bad. Equanimity allows us to maintain a balanced state of mind, regardless of external circumstances. This practice is essential for cultivating calm because it helps us avoid emotional extremes. Whether faced with success or failure, joy or sorrow, equanimity keeps us centered. This emotional balance creates mental clarity, as we are no longer overwhelmed by the highs and lows of life. Another way Stoicism fosters a calm mind is through the practice of resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks and remain strong in the face of adversity. The Stoics believed that by focusing on what we can control and accepting what we cannot, we build resilience. This inner strength allows us to face challenges without being mentally or emotionally defeated. Resilience is key to maintaining mental clarity, as it prevents us from becoming overwhelmed by difficulties and helps us stay focused on what we can do to improve the situation. The Stoics also emphasized the importance of practicing moderation in all aspects of life. Excess, whether in work, pleasure or possessions, leads to mental imbalance and distraction. By practicing moderation, we create a sense of harmony in our lives. This balanced approach helps prevent burnout and reduces the mental clutter that comes from overindulgence. Moderation fosters a calm and centered mind, allowing us to approach life with greater clarity and intention. Another key Stoic practice for cultivating a calm mind is developing patience. Impatience often leads to frustration and mental stress as we become fixated on wanting things to happen immediately. The Stoics taught that patience is essential for maintaining peace of mind. By trusting the natural timing of life and allowing events to unfold at their own pace, we reduce the mental strain that comes from trying to rush or force outcomes. This patience creates a more peaceful mental state, free from the agitation of constant urgency. Stoicism also encourages us to focus on what is within our control. Much of the mental clutter we experience comes from worrying about things that are beyond our influence. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control external events, but we can always control our thoughts, actions, and responses. By narrowing our focus to what we can influence, we eliminate the distractions of worry and fear. This practice not only clears the mind, but also empowers us to take meaningful action in the areas where we have real control. Another way Stoicism helps cultivate a calm mind is through the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness allows us to become fully aware of our thoughts and emotions without being consumed by them. By observing our internal state with detachment, we create space between ourselves and our reactions. This mental space helps prevent impulsive responses and allows us to choose how we engage with our thoughts. Mindfulness reduces the mental noise that comes from unexamined emotions, fostering a clearer and more focused mind. The Stoics also teach the importance of aligning our actions with our values. When we live in accordance with our principles, we create a sense of inner harmony that leads to mental clarity. On the other hand, when our actions are out of alignment with our values, we experience inner conflict and mental turmoil. By consistently acting in ways that reflect our values, we reduce the cognitive dissonance that comes from living inauthentically. This alignment fosters a sense of peace and clarity, as we no longer carry the mental burden of self-contradiction. Another powerful Stoic practice for calming the mind is letting go of the need for approval from others. When we are constantly seeking validation from those around us, we create mental stress and distraction. Stoicism teaches that true peace comes from within and is not dependent on external praise or recognition. By letting go of the need for others' approval, we free ourselves from the mental clutter of trying to meet others' expectations. This shift allows us to focus on our own growth and values, fostering a calmer and more centered mind. The Stoics also remind us of the power of perspective. Often, our mental distress comes from viewing situations in a narrow or negative way. By expanding our perspective and considering the bigger picture, we can reduce the emotional intensity of difficult situations. Stoicism encourages us to ask whether a particular challenge will matter in the long run, or whether we are magnifying its importance. This broader perspective helps us maintain mental clarity, as we are no longer overwhelmed by the immediate challenges in front of us. Another Stoic practice that fosters mental clarity is cultivating self-discipline. Distractions often arise when we lack the discipline to stay focused on what is important. Stoicism teaches that self-discipline is key to maintaining a calm and clear mind. By developing the ability to resist temptations and stay committed to our goals, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from procrastination or scattered attention. This discipline allows us to approach life with greater intention and focus, fostering a sense of inner peace. The Stoics also teach that mental calm is fostered by living with intention. When we drift through life without clear goals or purpose, we become susceptible to distractions and mental clutter. Stoicism encourages us to live with a sense of purpose, setting clear intentions for how we want to live and what we want to achieve. This intentionality helps reduce the mental noise that comes from aimless wandering, allowing us to focus our energy on what truly matters. Living with intention creates a sense of clarity and direction that fosters mental calm. Another important aspect of cultivating a calm mind is practicing forgiveness. Holding on to grudges or resentment creates mental and emotional stress. The Stoics remind us that forgiveness is not about excusing harmful behavior, but about freeing ourselves from the burden of anger and bitterness. By letting go of past hurts, we clear the mental space needed for peace and clarity. Forgiveness allows us to move forward without being weighed down by the emotional baggage of the past. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of rest in maintaining mental calm. When we are overworked or exhausted, our minds become more prone to distractions and emotional instability. Rest is essential for recharging both the mind and body. The Stoics remind us that taking time for rest is not a sign of weakness, but a necessary part of maintaining balance. By giving ourselves permission to rest, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from burnout and create space for clarity and calm. Another key to cultivating a calm mind is practicing detachment from material possessions. The Stoics teach that our attachment to material things often leads to mental stress and anxiety. By recognizing that material possessions are temporary and cannot bring lasting happiness, we free ourselves from the mental clutter of wanting more. This detachment allows us to find contentment in simplicity, reducing the distractions that come from constantly chasing after material success. Stoicism also encourages us to embrace silence as a way to cultivate mental calm. In a world filled with noise and constant stimulation, silence offers a refuge for the mind. The Stoics valued moments of silence as opportunities for reflection and inner peace. By creating intentional moments of silence in our lives, whether through meditation, quiet reflection, or simply stepping away from the noise, we reduce the mental distractions that come from constant engagement with the external world. Silence fosters clarity by allowing us to reconnect with our inner selves. The Stoics also teach that practicing compassion helps cultivate a calm mind. When we are caught up in judgment or criticism of others, we create mental stress and emotional tension. Compassion allows us to approach others with kindness and understanding, reducing the mental noise that comes from conflict or resentment. By practicing compassion, we create a sense of inner peace, as we are no longer burdened by the negative emotions that come from harsh judgments of ourselves or others. Another powerful Stoic practice for cultivating mental calm is embracing uncertainty. Much of the mental stress we experience comes from trying to control or predict the future. The Stoics remind us that life is inherently uncertain, and trying to control the unknown only leads to anxiety. By embracing uncertainty and trusting that we can handle whatever comes our way, we reduce the mental clutter of worrying about the future. This trust in ourselves fosters a sense of calm and resilience, allowing us to face life's uncertainties with greater ease. The Stoics also teach that mental calm comes from living in alignment with nature. This principle encourages us to accept the natural flow of life and to act in harmony with the world around us. When we resist the natural course of events or try to impose our will on the world, we create mental and emotional tension. By aligning ourselves with the natural order of things, we reduce the mental stress that comes from resistance and create space for inner peace and clarity. Another important aspect of cultivating a calm mind is practicing humility. When we are overly concerned with our own importance or status, we create mental pressure to live up to certain expectations. Humility allows us to let go of the need for recognition or validation from others, freeing us from the mental stress that comes from trying to prove ourselves. This humility fosters a sense of peace, as we are no longer driven by ego or the need to be seen in a certain way. The Stoics also remind us that mental calm is cultivated through gratitude for the simple things in life. When we become overly focused on achieving success or accumulating wealth, we lose sight of the small moments of joy and contentment that are available to us every day. By practicing gratitude for the present moment and the simple pleasures of life, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from constantly striving for more. Gratitude fosters a sense of peace and contentment, allowing us to find clarity in the here and now. Finally, Stoicism teaches that cultivating a calm and clear mind requires consistency. Mental clarity is not something we achieve once and for all. It is a practice that requires ongoing effort. By consistently applying Stoic principles, focusing on what we can control, practicing acceptance, and letting go of distractions, we create a mindset that is resilient, focused, and peaceful. This consistent practice helps ensure that we can maintain mental clarity even in the face of life's challenges, allowing us to live with greater purpose, peace, and fulfillment. As we focus on cultivating a calm and clear mind through Stoic practices, we begin to see how striving for perfection can be one of the greatest obstacles to inner peace. The pursuit of perfection, while often seen as a virtue, creates unnecessary pressure and mental clutter. Stoicism offers an alternative, a way to let go of the unrealistic desire for flawlessness and embrace the idea of progress over perfection. By releasing ourselves from the heavy burden of perfectionism, we open the door to a clearer, more focused mind, where peace and acceptance replace stress and frustration. Perfectionism can trap us in a cycle of dissatisfaction. When we set impossible standards for ourselves, we are constantly falling short, which leads to feelings of inadequacy and disappointment. Stoicism teaches us to accept that mistakes and imperfections are a natural part of life. By focusing on the effort we put in rather than the outcome, we free ourselves from the pressure to be perfect. This mindset allows us to make progress without being weighed down by the fear of failure, clearing the mental space for growth. The Stoics remind us that perfection is an illusion. In reality, no one is perfect, and no situation will ever be flawless. By accepting this truth, we release the mental clutter that comes from trying to control every detail. This acceptance doesn't mean giving up on improvement. Rather, it means focusing on doing our best in each moment without the need for everything to be ideal. By embracing imperfection, we create a sense of peace and clarity, as we are no longer striving for an impossible standard. Perfectionism often leads to procrastination. When we fear that our work won't be perfect, we delay starting or finishing tasks. Stoicism helps us overcome this by encouraging action over perfection. The Stoics taught that the most important thing is to take consistent steps forward, even if those steps are imperfect. By focusing on the process rather than the outcome, we overcome the paralysis that perfectionism creates. This shift in focus helps clear the mind of hesitation and fear, allowing us to act with confidence and purpose. Another way Stoicism helps us let go of perfectionism is by teaching us to focus on what we can control. Perfectionists often try to control every aspect of a situation, which leads to frustration when things don't go as planned. Stoicism reminds us that we cannot control everything, only our actions, thoughts, and attitudes. By letting go of the need to control external factors, we reduce the mental stress that comes from trying to make everything perfect. This acceptance of what we can't control brings clarity, as we are no longer burdened by the impossible task of managing every detail. The Stoic practice of self-compassion is another tool for letting go of perfectionism. Perfectionists are often their own harshest critics, constantly judging themselves for not meeting their high standards. Stoicism teaches us to be kinder to ourselves, recognizing that mistakes and setbacks are part of the human experience. By practicing self-compassion, we free ourselves from the mental strain of self-judgment and create space for growth and learning. This kindness toward ourselves fosters a sense of peace and clarity, as we are no longer weighed down by the pressure to be flawless. Stoicism also helps us redefine success. Perfectionists often measure success by external standards, whether they receive praise, recognition, or meet a certain ideal. The Stoics teach that true success comes from within, from living in alignment with our values and doing our best in any situation. By shifting our definition of success away from perfection and toward personal growth, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from chasing external validation. This internal measure of success creates a clearer, more focused mind, as we are no longer distracted by the need to please others. Another powerful Stoic principle that helps us let go of perfectionism is the idea of accepting failure as part of the journey. Perfectionists often fear failure, seeing it as a sign of personal inadequacy. Stoicism teaches that failure is not something to be feared, but rather embraced as a valuable learning experience. By accepting failure as a natural part of life, we reduce the mental stress that comes from trying to avoid it at all costs. This acceptance allows us to approach challenges with a clearer mind, knowing that mistakes are opportunities for growth rather than a reflection of our worth. Perfectionism can also create a sense of isolation, as we often feel that we are the only ones struggling to meet impossible standards. Stoicism helps us connect with the shared human experience, reminding us that everyone faces challenges and imperfections. By recognizing that we are not alone in our struggles, we release the mental burden of trying to appear perfect to others. This sense of connection fosters a clearer, more compassionate mind, as we are no longer hiding behind the mask of perfection. The Stoics also teach that focusing on the small, consistent efforts we make each day is more important than achieving perfection. Perfectionists often focus on the end result, missing the value of the journey itself. Stoicism encourages us to take pride in the daily actions that move us forward, even if they are not perfect. By shifting our focus to the process, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from obsessing over the final outcome. This approach fosters a clearer, more peaceful mind, as we learn to find satisfaction in the present moment. Another way Stoicism helps us release perfectionism is by encouraging us to focus on the bigger picture. Perfectionists often get lost in the details, obsessing over every minor flaw. The Stoics teach that life is too short to be consumed by small imperfections. By focusing on what truly matters, our character, our actions, and our relationships, we let go of the need to perfect every aspect of our lives. This shift in perspective reduces the mental clutter that comes from overanalyzing and allows us to approach life with greater clarity and purpose. Stoicism also teaches that perfectionism can be a form of attachment. When we are attached to the idea of perfection, we create suffering for ourselves by clinging to an unrealistic ideal. The Stoics remind us that attachment leads to mental and emotional pain, as it ties our happiness to something we cannot achieve. By letting go of our attachment to perfection, we free our minds from the constant striving and disappointment that comes from chasing an impossible goal. This detachment fosters mental clarity, as we are no longer bound by unrealistic expectations. The The Stoic practice of mindfulness helps us let go of perfectionism by bringing our attention to the present moment. Perfectionists often dwell on past mistakes or worry about future outcomes, which creates mental stress and distraction. Mindfulness allows us to focus on the here and now, accepting each moment as it is without the need for it to be perfect. This practice reduces the mental noise that comes from living outside of the present and helps us cultivate a clearer, more peaceful mind. Another Stoic principle that helps us release perfectionism is the concept of enough. Perfectionists often feel that nothing is ever enough. They are never satisfied with their work, their achievements, or themselves. Stoicism teaches us to recognize when we have done enough and to be content with our efforts. By embracing the idea of enough, we release the mental pressure to constantly do more or be more. This contentment fosters a sense of peace and clarity, as we are no longer driven by the need to overachieve. The Stoics also teach that perfectionism can lead to burnout. When we push ourselves to meet impossible standards, we often exhaust our mental and emotional resources. Stoicism encourages us to practice moderation and balance in all things. By recognizing our limits and taking time for rest and renewal, we prevent burnout and maintain our mental clarity. This balance allows us to approach life with greater focus and intention, without being overwhelmed by the demands of perfectionism. Another powerful Stoic practice for letting go of perfectionism is cultivating gratitude for our imperfections. The Stoics teach that our flaws and mistakes are opportunities for growth and learning. By being grateful for the lessons our imperfections offer, we shift our focus away from self-criticism and towards self-improvement. This gratitude helps clear the mental clutter of perfectionism, as we learn to appreciate the value of our imperfections rather than seeing them as failures. Stoicism also helps us let go of the fear of judgment that often accompanies perfectionism. Perfectionists are often driven by the fear of what others will think if they make a mistake or fall short of their goals. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control others' opinions and that our worth is not determined by external judgment. By letting go of the need for approval, we free ourselves from the mental stress that comes from worrying about how others perceive us. This freedom fosters a clearer, more confident mind, as we focus on our own values rather than the opinions of others. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of embracing change. Perfectionists often resist change, wanting everything to stay exactly as they planned. This resistance creates mental stress and frustration. Stoicism teaches that change is a natural and inevitable part of life, and that by accepting it, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. This acceptance of change allows us to approach life with greater flexibility and clarity, as we are no longer bound by rigid expectations. Another way Stoicism helps us let go of perfectionism is by encouraging us to focus on the present rather than constantly striving for future achievements. Perfectionists often place their happiness in the future, believing they will only be satisfied once they reach a certain goal. Stoicism teaches that true contentment comes from being present and appreciating the journey rather than waiting for the destination. By shifting our focus to the present moment, we reduce the mental strain that comes from always chasing the next achievement. This present-focused mindset fosters a clearer, more peaceful mind. The Stoics also teach that perfectionism often stems from a fear of failure. Perfectionists are so afraid of making mistakes that they hesitate to take risks or try new things. Stoicism encourages us to view failure as an essential part of growth. By accepting that mistakes are inevitable, we free ourselves from the fear of failure and open ourselves to new opportunities. This acceptance of failure helps clear the mental clutter of perfectionism, as we are no longer held back by the need to be flawless. Another Stoic principle that helps us let go of perfectionism is the understanding that life is unpredictable. Perfectionists often create detailed plans and expect everything to go exactly as they envisioned. When life inevitably takes unexpected turns, they become frustrated and stressed. Stoicism teaches us to accept the uncertainty of life and to adapt to whatever comes our way. By letting go of the need for everything to go according to plan, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from resisting reality. This flexibility fosters a clearer, more adaptable mind. Stoicism also encourages us to focus on progress rather than perfection. Perfectionists often see any mistake or setback as a failure, but the Stoics remind us that growth is a gradual process. By celebrating small victories and recognizing the progress we make along the way, we reduce the mental pressure to be perfect. This focus on progress helps clear the mind of the frustration that comes from trying to achieve perfection overnight, allowing us to approach life with greater patience and clarity. The Stoics also teach that perfectionism can rob us of joy. When we are constantly striving for perfection, we miss out on the simple pleasures of life. Stoicism encourages us to find joy in the present moment, rather than waiting for everything to be perfect. By letting go of the need for perfection, we open ourselves to the happiness that is available to us right now. This shift in focus reduces the mental clutter that comes from always seeking something better, allowing us to experience greater clarity and contentment. Another way Stoicism helps us release perfectionism is by teaching us to embrace impermanence. Perfectionists often want things to stay exactly as they are, fearing change or loss. Stoicism reminds us that everything in life is temporary, and that clinging to the idea of perfection only leads to suffering. By accepting the impermanence of all things, we free ourselves from the mental stress that comes from trying to hold on to what cannot be kept. This acceptance fosters a clearer, more peaceful mind, as we learn to flow with life rather than resist it. Stoicism also helps us let go of perfectionism by encouraging us to focus on what truly matters. Perfectionists often get caught up in minor details, losing sight of the bigger picture. The Stoics teach that life is too short to be consumed by trivial concerns. By focusing on our core values and what is most important to us, we let go of the need to perfect every little thing. This shift in focus reduces the mental clutter that comes from over-analyzing and allows us to approach life with greater clarity and purpose. Finally, Stoicism teaches that letting go of perfectionism is a lifelong practice. The desire for perfection is deeply ingrained in many of us, and it takes time to release it fully. By consistently applying Stoic principles, accepting imperfection, focusing on progress, and practicing self-compassion, we gradually free ourselves from the mental and emotional burden of perfectionism. This ongoing practice helps ensure that we can maintain a clear and peaceful mind, even as we continue to grow and evolve. As we release the weight of perfectionism and embrace the natural flow of life, we come to another powerful Stoic belief: embracing adversity as a path to strengthen the mind. The Stoics understood that adversity is not something to be feared or avoided, but rather welcomed as an opportunity for growth. It is through life's challenges that we sharpen our mental resilience, build inner strength, and cultivate wisdom. This philosophy doesn't just change how we handle difficult situations, it transforms how we view them, empowering us to face struggles with a clearer and stronger mind. Adversity forces us to confront our limits and break through them. When life is easy, we often settle into comfort, avoiding discomfort or pain. But Stoicism teaches that true growth happens outside our comfort zones. By facing challenges head-on, we expand our capacity for resilience. Each hardship we endure strengthens the mind, much like a muscle that becomes stronger with use. The more we face adversity, the more capable we become of handling future difficulties with grace and wisdom. One of the reasons Stoics believe in embracing adversity is because it reveals our true character. When things are going well, it's easy to appear strong, patient, or wise. But when adversity strikes, our true nature is exposed. Challenges test our values and force us to live by the principles we claim to hold. In this way, adversity is not a setback, but a mirror that reflects who we truly are. By embracing these moments, we can see where we need to grow and become more aligned with our values. Adversity also teaches us humility. In the face of difficulty, we are reminded that we are not invincible or all-powerful. This humility is a gift, as it helps us let go of the need to control everything and instead focus on what we can do. By accepting that there are forces beyond our control, we develop a clearer mind, one that is focused on action rather than resistance. This acceptance of our limitations frees us from the mental strain of trying to control the uncontrollable. Another way adversity strengthens the mind is by teaching us patience. When life throws obstacles in our path, it's natural to want quick solutions or immediate relief. However, Stoicism teaches that patience is key to overcoming adversity. Enduring hardship with patience helps us develop mental fortitude and the ability to stay calm in the face of difficulties. This patience allows us to approach problems with a clear mind, without being overwhelmed by the urgency to fix everything immediately. Adversity also fosters adaptability. The Stoics believed that life is constantly changing, and that those who can adapt are the ones who thrive. When we face challenges, we are forced to adjust our plans, strategies, and even our mindset. This adaptability is a crucial skill for mental clarity, as it helps us remain flexible and open to new possibilities, rather than becoming stuck in frustration or despair when things don't go as planned. By embracing adversity, we learn to pivot and find new paths forward. The Stoics also saw adversity as a teacher of perseverance. In difficult times, we learn to keep going, even when the road ahead is uncertain or hard. This perseverance strengthens the mind by showing us that we are capable of more than we think. Each time we push through adversity, we build confidence in our ability to handle whatever comes next. This inner strength is a key part of mental resilience, allowing us to face future challenges with greater clarity and determination. Embracing adversity also helps us develop emotional resilience. Stoicism teaches that we should not let external events control our emotions. When adversity strikes, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, angry, or sad. However, by learning to remain calm and composed in the face of challenges, we gain control over our emotions. This emotional mastery clears the mind of unnecessary turmoil, allowing us to think and act with greater clarity, even in the midst of hardship. Another benefit of embracing adversity is that it teaches us gratitude. When life is difficult, we often become more aware of the things we have taken for granted. Adversity strips away the distractions of comfort and abundance, helping us appreciate the simple things that bring us joy. This shift in perspective clears the mind of dissatisfaction and fosters a deeper sense of gratitude for the present moment. Gratitude, in turn, strengthens the mind by helping us focus on what we have, rather than what we lack. Adversity also deepens our empathy for others. When we go through difficult times, we gain a better understanding of the struggles others face. This empathy helps clear the mind of judgment or criticism as we become more compassionate and understanding. By embracing our own challenges, we become better equipped to support and connect with others in their struggles. This connection fosters a sense of shared humanity, which strengthens both our minds and our relationships. The Stoics believed that adversity reveals the impermanence of life. Challenges remind us that nothing lasts forever, whether it's success, failure, joy, or pain. This awareness of impermanence helps us let go of attachment to outcomes and focus on the present moment. By embracing the temporary nature of adversity, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from trying to hold on to what cannot be kept. This acceptance of impermanence fosters a clearer and more peaceful mind, as we learn to flow with life's changes rather than resist them. Adversity also sharpens our problem-solving skills. When life is smooth, we often don't need to think critically or creatively. But when challenges arise, we are forced to find solutions and think outside the box. This mental exercise strengthens our ability to navigate complexity and uncertainty. By embracing adversity, we develop a clearer and more strategic mind, one that is better equipped to handle the unexpected twists and turns of life. The Stoics also taught that adversity helps us refine our purpose. In times of struggle, we are often forced to reassess what truly matters to us. This re-evaluation helps clarify our values and goals, leading to a greater sense of purpose. By embracing adversity, we strip away the distractions of comfort and routine, allowing us to focus on what is most important. This clarity of purpose strengthens the mind by giving us a clear direction, even in the face of obstacles. Adversity also teaches us resilience in relationships. Challenges often test our connections with others, whether it's through conflict, distance, or loss. The Stoics believed that adversity strengthens relationships by showing us what truly matters and who we can rely on. By embracing the challenges that arise in our relationships, we build deeper connections based on trust, understanding, and shared experience. This resilience in relationships helps clear the mind of superficial concerns and fosters a deeper sense of connection and belonging. Another reason the Stoics embraced adversity is because it teaches us to let go of attachment to comfort. When life is easy, we often become attached to the idea that things should always be comfortable and effortless. Adversity challenges this attachment by pushing us out of our comfort zones. By embracing discomfort, we learn to let go of the need for constant ease and instead find strength in the face of challenges. This detachment from comfort clears the mind of the fear of hardship and fosters a sense of mental resilience. Adversity also encourages self-discipline. The Stoics believed that discipline is essential for a clear and focused mind. When we face challenges, we are forced to develop the discipline needed to overcome them. Whether it's maintaining a routine, staying committed to a goal, or pushing through discomfort, adversity strengthens our ability to stay disciplined. This discipline, in turn, helps clear the mind of distractions and allows us to stay focused on what truly matters. The Stoics also saw adversity as an opportunity to practice acceptance. When we face challenges, we are often confronted with situations that are beyond our control. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we cannot change and focus on what we can do in response. This acceptance reduces the mental stress that comes from resisting reality and helps us approach challenges with a clear and calm mind. By embracing adversity, we practice the art of acceptance, which strengthens our mental clarity and emotional resilience. Adversity also forces us to confront our fears. The Stoics believed that fear often holds us back from living fully and authentically. When we face challenges, we are forced to confront the fears that have been holding us back. This confrontation helps us overcome our fears and develop a clearer, more courageous mind. By embracing adversity, we learn to face our fears head-on, reducing their power over us and freeing ourselves from the mental clutter of worry and anxiety. The Stoics also taught that adversity teaches us the value of perseverance. In the face of difficulty, it can be tempting to give up or take the easy way out. However, Stoicism encourages us to keep going even when the path is hard. This perseverance strengthens the mind by showing us that we are capable of enduring more than we think. Each time we push through adversity, we build mental and emotional strength, which helps us face future challenges with greater confidence and clarity. Adversity also helps us develop a greater sense of self-awareness. When we are faced with challenges, we are forced to examine our thoughts, emotions, and reactions. This self-examination helps us better understand ourselves and identify areas for growth. By embracing adversity, we gain valuable insights into our strengths and weaknesses, which allows us to approach life with greater clarity and self-understanding. This self-awareness strengthens the mind by helping us align our actions with our values and goals. The Stoics believed that adversity is a teacher of patience. When we face challenges, we often want quick solutions or immediate relief. However, adversity teaches us that some things take time and that patience is key to overcoming difficulties. By embracing adversity with patience, we learn to stay calm and focused, even when the road ahead is long or uncertain. This patience helps clear the mind of frustration and anxiety, allowing us to approach challenges with greater clarity and composure. Another way adversity strengthens the mind is by teaching us to focus on what we can control. When life becomes difficult, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the things we cannot change. However, Stoicism teaches that we should focus only on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. By narrowing our focus to what we can influence, we reduce the mental clutter that comes from worrying about things beyond our control. This focus helps clear the mind and allows us to approach challenges with greater determination and clarity. The Stoics also saw adversity as an opportunity to practice gratitude. When life is easy, we often take things for granted. But when we face challenges, we become more aware of the things that bring us joy and comfort. This awareness fosters a deeper sense of gratitude for the simple things in life. By embracing adversity, we learn to appreciate the present moment and the small blessings that come our way. This gratitude helps clear the mind of dissatisfaction and fosters a greater sense of peace and contentment. Adversity also helps us build emotional resilience. The Stoics believed that we should not be controlled by our emotions, but rather learn to master them. When we face challenges, we are often confronted with intense emotions such as fear, anger, or sadness. By embracing adversity, we learn to manage these emotions rather than being overwhelmed by them. This emotional resilience clears the mind of emotional turmoil and allows us to think and act with greater clarity and purpose. Another way adversity strengthens the mind is by teaching us to let go of the need for control. When life is easy, we often feel in control of our circumstances. However, adversity reminds us that there are many things in life that we cannot control. By embracing this uncertainty, we learn to let go of the need for control and instead focus on what we can do in the present moment. This acceptance reduces the mental stress that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable and fosters a clearer, more peaceful mind. Adversity also helps us develop a greater sense of purpose. When life is smooth, it's easy to drift through our days without much thought. But when we face challenges, we are often forced to reevaluate our goals and values. This reevaluation helps clarify our sense of purpose and gives us a clear direction in life. By embracing adversity, we strip away the distractions of comfort and routine, allowing us to focus on what truly matters. This clarity of purpose strengthens the mind by giving us a clear direction even in the face of obstacles. The Stoics believed that adversity teaches us resilience in relationships. Challenges often test our connections with others, whether it's through conflict, distance, or loss. By embracing the challenges that arise in our relationships, we build deeper connections based on trust, understanding, and shared experience. This resilience in relationships helps clear the mind of superficial concerns and fosters a deeper sense of connection and belonging. Another reason the Stoics embraced adversity is because it teaches us to let go of attachment to comfort. When life is easy, we often become attached to the idea that things should always be comfortable and effortless. Adversity challenges this attachment by pushing us out of our comfort zones. By embracing discomfort, we learn to let go of the need for constant ease and instead find strength in the face of challenges. This detachment from comfort clears the mind of the fear of hardship and fosters a sense of mental resilience. Embracing adversity ultimately helps cultivate wisdom. Each challenge we face offers valuable lessons about ourselves, others, and the world around us. By approaching adversity with curiosity and a willingness to learn, we gain insights that help us navigate life more effectively. These lessons build a foundation of wisdom that guides us through future challenges with greater clarity and understanding. This wisdom, born from adversity, strengthens the mind and allows us to live with greater purpose, resilience, and peace. As you begin to apply these Stoic tips to detoxify your mind, you'll find clarity, peace, and strength waiting on the other side. Letting go of negative thoughts, toxic emotions, and mental clutter frees up space for calm and purpose. Remember, Stoicism isn't about avoiding adversity or seeking perfection. It's about embracing life's challenges, accepting what you cannot control, and thriving in the present moment with a clear, focused mind. Now, it's your turn. How has Stoicism helped you detoxify your thoughts? Share your experience in the comments below. Let's learn from each other's journeys. And if you found value in these insights, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. More Stoic wisdom is on the way, and you won't want to miss it.